Did I say something about it the first time we met?
It was your eye contact, bro.
No, about your fingers?
It's what your body said, you know what I'm saying? So I knew when we would meet, you would notice him first thing.
Yes.
Our opinions we have of others says more about ourselves than it does the other person. So.
Yo, some stoicism shit
I don't know
right
what that
there,
means.
bro.
I'm too stupid to understand.
Tim Kennedy told me he did a variation of that, but he was like, "Yeah, I went to war. I went to war for like 2 months, did some stuff, and then met my wife and knocked it out. I did a version of that. I did like a 3-on-1 match in Pittsburgh, beat everybody up, and then
You're listening to the Simple Man with Ethan Krell and Stan, Nicky Rod and Damian Anderson. Stay a while if you know about the jiu-jitsu. If you don't, you can come too. This is PT.
I don't know yet. That's
okay,
the answer.
fine.
All right, guys.
I'll take it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Simple Man Podcast. We have 3 amazing guests here. We have Mr. Greg Souders, DeAndre Corbe, and Gavin Corbe. So, I guess to start it off with, we have to explain like the methodology that you guys use. Basically,
They only drill. They do no live training.
What?
Don't tell them.
They strictly, they're throwing us curveballs. They're actually strict drillers. They do no live, and they're trying to slow everyone else's progress.
I want to try to do my best intro for the followers. Now, we don't want to get too much into the generalities because I want to ask some actual specific questions about what you guys do. But basically, Greg essentially pioneered this idea of CLA or constraint-led approach in jiu-jitsu. And now constraint-led approach is a way that players will acquire skill through essentially understanding their environment, understanding tasks and movements, essentially, versus just static drilling and talking. Is that essentially what, in a sense, what CLA is? Or what is it in your words?
What, just in simple words?
Simple, please.
Simple Man
Simple
Podcast.
words, yeah. No, we're trying to scale live work. So we're trying to keep everything live, everything unscripted, uncooperative, with resistance. And we're trying to figure out how to make it work without doing anything like that's not live.
So basically, we had you teach the past 2 days, and not a single quote-unquote technique was taught. These are all games, essentially, or task-based rounds, right?
Sure, yeah.
And super interesting to actually see in person, because when I first heard about it, my initial gut reaction, especially just being from a traditional jiu-jitsu background, it's like drilling is 100% necessary. Like, this is totally wrong. And then only when I started to really dive into the podcast that you guys were on and talking about it and understanding what CLA actually is, it actually makes a lot of sense to me. So it was super cool to see. And you guys actually, Nicky Rod and Ethan, you guys actually got to experience CLA. So what was it like for you guys?
I'll take the lead on this.
Take it away.
For me, it was very similar to what I did in my wrestling days. Like in wrestling, in my club team and in college, we did a little bit of technique, and then we drilled with resistance, which is kind of what the game is, right? Like, for example, like if we're doing takedowns, coach would be like, listen, take your opponent down with like arm drag to the back, but make sure like the defensive guy has the job of like making it difficult. Maybe he's doing like 50%. Maybe you want like a long like 6 movement scramble before you actually secure the takedown. So yeah, it was maybe reminiscent of my wrestling days. I think it's something that the jiu-jitsu community is missing, because there's this mystique of like drilling, and drilling is just like like the aggressor doesn't move, and you just against like this limp noodle, which is not realistic, not really that good.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. and except for the part of my wrestling days, that's part.
I was like, you wrestle, bro.
I don't have those days, but no, I like it. Long story short, I like it. I feel like if we were to just like drilling, I personally, sorry, I think it does have a place somewhere. I think it saved me a lot of time of figuring it out myself, but at this point, I think the way you had the class run is something I would prefer to do, and something I would see myself getting better a lot faster, sharpening up the things I already know, and also focusing on the little battles that I don't really, or I didn't really pay attention to, like like we were going over them a little bit after the games we were doing, and they're like these little battles that you don't realize are won or lost, and it's like something that makes this guy a lot harder or a lot easier to deal with. Like if I could just the body lock to the head and arm game, for example, like if I go body lock and I could just blitz a head and arm, like the guy's not going to hold me off, or if he does, he's going to get exhausted doing it. That's just one example of like a little battle, a little like body lock to head and arm of any sort. That's something that happens, through all levels, white to black belt, and we don't really, for the most part, don't really know what's going on. And focusing on those specific battles, little engagements is, I think, going to take me way further than if I were to just continue just drilling and then doing just situation alone. Although, yeah.
Imagine if your initial understanding would have been like that, right? Like you're a new guy and you just said, oh, hey, we have to be able to go from hips to shoulders. And you started practicing that day one. Think about the advantage you would get. So rather than trying to remember all the things your coach told you or all the things that you were supposed to do, you just had to do these little battles from day one. And we can scale it, right? For new guys, it's got to be super easy. We're just going to get under their elbows and try to stay there. More advanced guys, we're going to get under the elbows and then get behind them and get our legs involved in some way. So it's a completely scalable thing. And I think that's why the preference for drilling exists, is because when you do things in slow motion with no resistance, it's easy to scale. But the question is it effective? And is there a more effective way that we can approach this, right?
Can we hold the mic closer?
Closer?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
So the next kind of question that I have is actually for the Corbe brothers, because you guys, if I understand correctly, you guys came from essentially a traditional jiu-jitsu background where you guys were drilling and then training, and then for the past 4 or 5 years, you guys have been working directly with Greg, basically just completely adopting the CLA or constraint-led approach. Yeah. How was the mental shift, or what made you guys dive right into this thing when everyone else in jiu-jitsu is, drilling?
Well, the thing is funny. The reason why I met Greg is she was my girlfriend at the time, now my wife. So we were seeing each other, and she was training at Greg's gym, and I hopped into a class, and there was no drilling. And at the time, it was beginning of COVID. I was still training in the gi. I had dreams to be, IBJF world champion. Win those advantages, But no, man, it's there was a lot of COVID. It was like a time warp, man. There's a lot of time. There was no competitions anymore. It's all right, let me dive into this no gi thing, because I never had taken off the gi until 2020. Yeah, and then because my training before that, if we wanted to do a no gi tournament, you just took the gi off the week before your tournament, and then my coach would say, do the thing you did in the gi. That's obviously probably not the best way. You know what's funny? Me and Ethan had a match when I was still training, Toro Cup, a long time ago.
What?
I took the gi off for that week, and I was all right, how am I going to get Ethan? And it was and I have never did no gi before that. And they just say, Ethan Curley. But no, it was COVID, which just gave me a lot of time, and there was no risk to hey, let me try this thing, let me take my chances, and if I feel it's not serving me, I just go back the other way. But ever since I did that, it's man, I saw a lot of value similar to what you guys saw this past couple days. It was there's something here, and let me before I question Greg, let me try to learn what he was reading, and it made a lot after a little bit, it started making a lot more sense.
What about you, Gavin?
So I was a little delayed. He met his girlfriend, he moved away, got his job. Then when he came back home, he was telling me about Greg. And I was still drilling, doing all my stuff. But I trust my brother, so I started playing around with it. Then he connected me with Greg, and we started doing something remote. Like I would visit every weekend, then he'll give me games, some advice. So when I went back to my home gym, I just ran practice myself. Yeah, and then I saw myself getting a lot better. I think it was like 2022 Pans. Well, I was working with Greg remotely, and I had like, I think my two main training partners. One of them was there today, CJ. He's still a white belt, but yeah, he's just my homie.
What?
Yeah, he was my homie, and he was like, yeah, I want to do jiu-jitsu. I was like, yeah, just work with me. Like I got my black belt, and I've been working with Greg. I was like, all right, perfect person to try the CLA. So I was just training with CJ and one other homie that was like, I think he was a blue belt. And yeah, I ended up winning Pans that year. And
Yo, like downplaying this. Dude trained with a white belt and like a somewhat blue belt, and he was doing a remote. And that's like our first major.
What do you mean
like,
remote?
Like
so like
still,
yeah, I was living in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, like 3
They
hours
were
away.
in Rockville, so like I'll come a few weekends in the month. Then like during the weekdays I would just train by myself or with my friends, and I would just play the games that Greg told me about. So
That was our first major, like title, whatever you want to call it, like black belt Pans. That was like 2022, and that's when we started like, man, there's some value to this. Like we're making some sort of like progress in the competitive field.
How many years were you guys training before getting to Greg?
So I started 09.
Oh no!
Yeah, I've been training a long time. Oh no, so it's probably like 11, 12 years. But it was like I said, strictly in the gi, traditional approach. And I'm not saying like what I did prior to seeing Greg was a waste of time, because one of the things that my home instructor Nestor, what he did was he gave me and my brother freedom. He gave us a key. He said, "Yo, you do whatever you feel that you need to get better and to get to these stages." And he was like, he just gave us free reign. And then he's actually the one that encouraged us to come back or come up to standard, and because he saw how much it was improving our jiu-jitsu.
So were you guys the main training partners for each other, like growing up?
yeah, growing up, we used to drill the first 10 years.
Yeah.
Like I was still in school, like high school, and we'll go and drill an hour before class started, and that was like 3 or 4 years.
And what's the age difference?
So we're 4 years apart. I'm 4 years older.
Yeah.
So I was getting more serious into like trying to compete sooner than he did, because it was like until it was like 16 there was a size difference, but now when he got turned like 16 we became we're the same size, same weight, and it became a perfect training partner. And then we're 4 years apart. People think we're twins, but
no, that's why I have long hair. Like
Try to differentiate.
yeah. You got straight hair. I got the crazy hair.
yeah.
Yeah.
How old are you guys?
I'm 25.
25?
29, turned 30
Yeah.
this year.
6.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah, honestly, like the CLA, right? It's like all most of the podcasts that you did with like Big Dan or higher level guys in the sport. When I listen to it, it's like most of these guys haven't actually tried to learn what you guys are doing. And so before the podcast, it's like, we had a meeting, like 2 or 3 hour meeting with my striking coach Elton yesterday, and I was like, yeah, before we had the podcast, he sent me like 8 hours of shit to go over before actually having a conversation with you, because it's like you can't generate an actual opinion on something if you didn't actually try to learn it, right?
Right.
And then as I started going deeper and deeper into this like ecological approach, or I know you guys don't like to really say that, but you say like CLA, but it just makes a lot of sense to me,
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And that's kind of the frustrating thing. It's not even, who cares if people disagree, but know what you're disagreeing with, man. Seriously.
Exactly.
We don't know the answers to everything, but this is a method that's working. It's not just working in jiu-jitsu now, as we've shown, but it's working in all sports. I mean, it's even getting into the professional level. These professional teams, the MLB, the NBA, the NFL, they're hiring skill acquisition consultants from CLA camps to say, hey, come fix our guys, man. What's going on? And they're having good success with it. So again, this is not just a Greg Souders thing. This is a worldwide thing. CLA is becoming a very popular method to help people acquire skill,
Now, I do have one question. So I am like 99% in agreement with like CLA approach. We could say basically 100% with CLA.
Yeah.
Like, I still have some resistance a little bit, but pretty much I believe, like our conversation yesterday, again, it was like a 3-hour conversation. Pretty much everything you said I agreed with and my teammates agreed with. The one question I do have to ask you is, if I agree, or we operate that I do agree CLA is the best way to acquire skills.
Right.
Would you agree that CLA isn't the best way to become the best instructor or coach? Because what I'm understanding, what I'm looking at is, like, I definitely think a person that wants to become the best player they can possibly be, CLA is great. But if that person then wants to become a coach, don't you believe that they have to have a deep understanding, because they have to become a game designer eventually?
100%, yeah. So yeah, because that's actually a really great question. So I think a coach's job is to understand the sport they're playing, right? So you can gain all kinds of knowledge about. So we make this clear distinction between knowledge about and knowledge of. Knowledge about are like facts, right? The rules of the game, how the game is played historically, who does what moves or techniques exist historically, right? So that's a coach's job. You have to know your medium well. But that's not really coaching. Coaching is learn how to speak to athletes, how to manage athletes' fatigue levels, how to notice the difference between two athletes and what you might need to do to affect one that doesn't affect the other, and vice versa. So I think you do coach, I hate to say it this way, ecologically, but you can be a constraints-led approach coach, because you're doing it in real time, right? So let's say, when you're a new player and I create practice, that's going to be different as you become a better player, because we'll have to change practice again. And I have to do that with you as you change. There's no knowledge about that teaches me how Damien's going to be forever. I adapt to you as your coach as you're growing. Do you know what I mean? So it's an adaptive process, just like becoming an athlete.
I guess. Oh, sorry. Go.
I was about to say, it's just what this approach allows you to do is build the relationship between athlete and coach. It's not instructing. You know what I'm saying? Like typical traditional jiu-jitsu gyms, they're instructors. They come in, they probably don't know their guys that well, and they'll do a couple moves and do a live, right? What this allows you to do, like he said, really understand your athletes, like know Damien, how he is on Monday and what he tends to do by the end of the week, or how Nicky Rod, like on Monday, and then by this time he's feeling a little smoked. How do we change that practice? How do I communicate with these guys, as the weeks on? It builds that relationship. That's why, I think that's one of the benefits of the approach, because it gets your coach involved with the athlete, and it opens a line of communication between the athlete and the coach, which I think is critical. You know this.
I definitely agree with that 100%. I guess what I'm asking is it possible to scale through next generations? I definitely think to scale the athlete's ability 100%, but is it possible to scale to the next generation, where now the next students can become game designers without having a traditional understanding of
Noah. Like Noah, little Noah.
I thought you just said no.
No.
No, that answers that.
So we have a young kid. I mean, everyone who's joined my gym since around 2016, 2018 have been exposed to no explicit instruction, no drilling of any type. And they're all really good. If you came and just grappled with my regular everyday guys, you'd be like, dang, these are white belts. This is wild, right?
They're good bodies.
They're good bodies, man. They can do a whole hour without complaining. They stay locked and they stay focused. They're great, And Noah's one of those kids who took it seriously. And he's already doing little seminars and teaching and adopting his own way. And he's able to talk about jiu-jitsu in a complex way without knowing it from a traditional standpoint. And so everyone at my gym can talk about it in this way, you know what I mean, without knowing historically what has gone on. You know what I mean? We can transfer knowledge about. There's nothing special about that. But it's what we do with that knowledge, right? How do we use that knowledge to inform practice? There's a difference there.
Yeah. I guess, so in order to be the game designer, do you think that you need explicit knowledge, though? Because
yes.
Yeah. Make sure you're talking about
it. So I understand your question. Some of these guys that we could talk about jiu-jitsu from this perspective, but we don't not a lot of the our guys are necessarily using the language like the literature, right? So one of the things we do at our gym is on Thursdays, we literally allow the athletes to design their own games and get good at designing their own games, like for things specific to them. And then you'll see over a couple of months, years, they start to understand how important designing a task is and how it relates to their skill development. So that's one thing, like we were talking about from generation to generation scaling. That's one way we kind of implement that is like give guys practice in designing games. And because we all know, and it's sometimes hard to, like, we can't compete forever, and we're going to eventually have to transition all the way to coaching. So while you're competing, get good at, designing that practice. And then as you're doing that, read on the literature and see how that, like, you use your experience through that framework. Does that make sense?
No, I get it. You're going to say something?
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of what you said is why I made such big progress when we opened B Team, because I was able to learn and train and drill the movements that I wanted to drill, right? Like training under our previous coach, he was a phenomenal coach. But like he's teaching inversions and stuff. I'm not inverting. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going. I don't. Plan,
you stay outverted.
Yeah, I don't plan to be under any of these guys. You know what I mean? So I was doing a lot of that stuff, and that's not my game at all. So if I could go back and I could drill or I could train the things that I wanted to train, I feel as if I would have gotten better much faster. So I think that's interesting input.
Yeah. So building off of like learning how to coach, like I did not read any of the literature when I started working with Greg, but back at home in VB, I taught teens and kids. So I actually did both. I used to show technique, then play the games. Then after a month, well, first I realized I know I'm gonna fail at designing games at first, and it's a practice in itself. Like I'm always gonna try to get better every time I hold practice. But yeah, I did a show technique, play the game like a wrestling game. I showed a single leg entry, setups. Then we play like put our partner's hips down to the ground. And I realized that when I showed the technique, all the kids were trying it, but all the kids were coming in all different shapes, right? There was tall kids, skinny kids, like pretty big kids. And when I stopped showing technique, they played to their strengths. Some people will just blast people straight to their hips. Some people will fake, set up, all without explicit extraction. But I realized, like, when I showed the technique, they couldn't explore the games fully because when I showed the technique, it just drove their attention.
Those are constraints.
Yeah.
It's like information bias.
Yeah.
They're only
Like
doing this attention
Yeah.
bias, essentially.
Because I had kids that were like Jordan Burroughs, blast doubling, right? And when I showed them the single leg entries, they were just trying to do that because they were trying to be good students and listen to me.
For sure.
But when I stopped showing techniques and like, all right, let's focus on, like, I'll give them information like stay under the elbow, stay inside, as we work towards the legs and put their hips down. Then these kids were like just blasting kids off the mat, and I was like very proud as a teacher. So that was the biggest thing for me to stop showing technique as a coach. But that took me like a month of seeing it in real time to adjust how I held practice.
But the defensive guy is 100% not letting him do that, or
yeah. It's I think it's a lot easier with kids and teens because they're competitive.
Yeah.
All right, this guy's gonna. I don't even have to tell the defensive player to resist. They just do not want to lose the game.
Yeah.
So all these scrambles, all these good quality exchanges emerged. So
I did this a lot in wrestling. Like we would do drilling, and I just wouldn't let anybody take me down in practice.
Yeah.
Even while I was that guy. They hated drilling with me, but I was like, you don't have to earn this. You know?
So I had kids like that, right? And I'm not gonna be like, yo, like let them have your leg, work on your. If they're so strong at keeping people away from their legs, I want to encourage that.
Yeah.
Like at all times, right? I don't want to compromise what they're already organizing around, you know? So, and to combat that, because like, all right, this kid can't get taken down. Like, you just switch partners. Everyone goes with everyone. Mm-hmm. So you get all these looks. So it's not like there's the same partners every class. And there's this one kid that just getting mauled for a month straight, not winning any exchanges. It's not like that because we switched partners. So,
I guess one question I have for you guys. So,
this is not the only question you're gonna have.
Can I say one question?
You said
yeah,
times.
for the past
Yeah. So
quick.
every time there's another
okay.
question, there's one more question. Okay, so it's hard, I guess, for us to get a true understanding of what you guys do week to week and month to month because, you know, we didn't actually go to your guys' gym. You guys just did spend 2 days with us. The one thing, I guess, that I noticed just from the 2 sessions was that there wasn't explicit instruction, right? That's like the idea. So I guess, how do you guys structure your practices to give those explicit instructions? Like, for example, you know, to enter the legs, oftentimes you need 2 legs to the inside, or to win a scramble, oftentimes you need hip height or head height. And it's like, how do you ensure that the students understand these fundamental concepts of jiu-jitsu, or like, you know, the basic physics of it, without giving explicit instruction or having, you know, information delivered to them?
Well, the physics are embedded in the task, right? So if we want them to have head height in a certain area, we'll give a task that affords or allows an opportunity for the head to stay high. And if it doesn't, they'll probably fail at the task. So you have to be clever in designing the constraints in such a way that when the student interacts with the other students, they must operate in a certain way to be somewhere near successful. And if they don't and they fail, it highlights that. And so they're going to have to search that space until they find the solution that will allow them to achieve their end. But there's enough space that there could be many ways for that student to organize into a win or something like this. So it's, again, the details, the physics, the biomechanics are embedded in the task. All that means is the task itself is what orients the body, right? So if I have to go grab somebody's leg who's constrained to stay low, for example, I would have to get low enough to do it. So rather than tell somebody, get low, if they can't get under their head, what will they have to do? They'll have to get low. So a well-designed game does it for you.
Interesting. And now, so one question. Sorry.
Just
It's
a
like
question.
it's like a tick. It's like a nervous.
It is. I'm nervous.
What
I'm
question?
nervous.
What question?
So earlier today, I asked a question.
Another one question.
Another one. I asked one more question.
You did say one question.
You actually did at class, I bet.
In class.
Yeah, you bet. Shit, how much you want to bet? I don't want to take it.
Not a lot of money. I'm not sure.
So I gave the example of, there was a guy that had asked how to finish a side triangle, right? And I said, I was like, oh, I'm looking at it as like, you're not pinching your knees when you finish. And basically what I was thinking was, that was a faster way for me to fix this guy's problem than him doing a 10-minute game drill that you had to build the design something around it.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. So we don't want to serve the coach. We want to serve the athlete.
Okay.
So saying something that makes you feel good to solve their problem now might not be what the athlete needs. So we have to think about their development. What would they need to do to make that change long term? And not only what we need to do to make that change long term, but will it persist in the face of variation and in the face of novelty, or as different partner changes, or as new things happen?
Yeah.
Will that change stick?
Understood. So then the follow-up question that I wanted to ask, but it was too many people. How do you base a game around like that? How would you design the game for that move? Say like where he's getting to fully lock side triangles, unable to finish.
So I'll give you my perspective, and Diaz has a good one too, because we had a problem with him when we were doing EBI stuff. So what we did a lot with DeAndre is, since he didn't have any no-gi experience, and there's a lot he didn't know about the no-gi exchanges, what we would do is we would expose him to something within the room, and then we would try to find a tournament where a really good guy was that could capitalize on that. Like we chased Ethan for a while, but we didn't actually get to him until we got to him. You know what I'm saying?
I haven't caught that one.
But no, seriously, like we
Sprinting.
be like, there's a guy who's good at a thing. We wanted to know, and that's how we would test him, right? We would train him for something. We'd find the guy. We'd send him out there. We'd collect the data, see what the result was, and we'd go back and do it again. But anyway, for the triangle specifically, we would put the student in the situation where they have an opportunity to finish, where they would need to maybe back heel like you asked, or squeeze the knees like you asked. And we would give them externally focused task, like something they could do to their partner to enhance their rate of potentially finishing. And then we would do that over time and see how that student is changing. And then we would adjust the tasks accordingly. So if they weren't doing something like, we noticed they weren't compressing one side of the neck, we might give them something of, we want to make sure that we always feel the person touching the back of our leg. That way they always feel something on the back of their leg. That's a little bit close to being internally focused, but it might be necessary for that specific situation. But either way, we want to give them something they can see the result of that will lead them towards potential success. And we have to keep messing with those tasks until we get something that looks like a learning opportunity.
And then what if they never finish that side?
I've never had that. I get asked that question a lot, and people are making it extreme because they want to act like there'll be a time.
You coach me long enough, we'll get there. Don't worry.
No, for real, right? But it's up to me. It's up to me. I got to be a good coach, right? I have to ask myself, why is this student not learning? Why is it taking so long? And that could be my failure.
But oftentimes a student's problem.
It could be a student's problem too. It really could.
It's all their fucking fault. Stupid idiots.
Well, look, check it.
We got individual constraints too. Like every person, that's a
intelligence.
Constraint. Yeah, like intelligence, fatigue level,
brain size,
injuries, all that stuff. Those all contribute to like behaviors that are emerging. But yeah, so it's the job of the coach is to understand his room and say, okay, why are they not finishing here? What can I do in terms of practice? Because one of the things that we always talk about, it's never a problem. Any problem we encounter in competition, it's a training problem, all the time. Like whatever you say, if it's you guys know when you take your L and you're whatever going in your head, you're trying to find reason, right? What we default to is a training problem. And it guides us into the subsequent weeks, as opposed to, everybody gets in their field after the loss and they'll be like, oh man, I didn't eat a good breakfast, or we always try to default.
I just blame these guys.
Oh yeah, that's
it's the easiest way to do it. And don't internalize
the easy route.
Yeah.
It's a training problem with your guys, man.
Don't take accountability. That's unpleasant.
I blame God. I'm like, he wanted me to lose.
It was all part of God's plan.
This is part of the plan. Thank you, adversity.
Blame the fake shit.
Not the results I wanted post. Going in there.
Mm-hmm. Just copy everybody else, guys. That's what everyone else is doing anyway.
So for that problem of not being able to submit someone if you get them in a side triangle, you would have a game like strictly related to that, and in time they'd figure it out. And that's a better way to do it than just Damien selfishly saying, squeeze the knees.
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, no, here's why.
Make himself feel better.
I'll never answer anyone's questions again.
Yeah.
No, it's not even that. It's not that you can't answer the questions. Will that question be the catalyst that causes the change? Or will the answer you give them be the catalyst that causes the change? For us, it's opportunities for action. So how many opportunities do they have to face that problem, do something about it, and see the result of their actions? Skill is a relationship, right? It's a relationship between our intentions and the results we get while intending to do something. And we're building that over time. So each time I get a chance to create an arm in, arm out scenario, which is what we call a triangle, I get to explore that space. How do I need to organize my body as Greg Souders to get compression on the neck that makes him tap? So you actually figure it out faster than if I were to tell you a bunch of steps or details, right? Because think about how many times that Danner gave you a detail on some shit that you still don't get to this day. And I'm not picking on Danner. I'm just saying because he's a detail-oriented guy. You know what I mean? And I even you had a hard time remembering two things I told you today. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but for real, it's hard. Man, I don't want to listen to shit. Tell me what to do, coach. Man, go grab his hips, Nick. Go grab his hips, bro. You probably function better that way.
Yeah, I listen at the end. And you're like,
right when they say, okay, 3, 2, 1, that's
I just need to hear something once, If you say it twice, I'll forget it.
Well,
I'm similar, man. Like,
yeah.
You guys want to both chime in?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm similar. Like,
talk about this guy.
After hearing this guy talk for the last 5 years, like, he starts to chirp about the game, and I'm just thinking about in the practice, all I hear is the two things: the win condition for the defensive person and the win condition for the offensive person, and that's what I put my focus to, because sometimes when we're in the room, there's different levels, so he has to provide different explanation. Some things I already know, and it's not information that's gonna be useful for me in this round. So what I just chime like you said, like I'll just tune out, listen until I hear the win conditions for both players, and that's what I focus on, But I feel you on that one.
Well, yeah, I definitely. Sometimes a small detail can make all the difference.
For sure.
Yep.
But it's going to make a difference to something you're already experiencing as a problem. So once that problem is faced, maybe me coming over and saying, move your hands a little bit over to the side, that helps you. But I have to know you as an athlete, and I have to we have to have a shared understanding of the problem that you're facing. Like even you, I wouldn't change you. If you were my athlete, every time I gave a game, I would just walk over to you, like, you got it, man? You know what we're doing? And I would re-explain it to you. I do that all the time. You know what I mean? Not everybody has the focus of D, or you know what I mean? So I have to change things.
Definitely not Nicky Rod.
Yeah. I actually really like implicit athletes who like maybe have a hard time paying attention. They're some of my favorite, man, because they'll go do the thing if they know what you're asking of them. You know what I mean?
I either have no focus or hyper focus. There's no middle ground. Yeah.
He has ADHD.
Sure.
We just diagnosed it on the camera. Well, real quick, you guys talked about constraints and individual constraints, right? Because it could be body types. It could also be injuries. So we have gift from our sponsors. One for each of you guys, Anaconda Fightwear. In our opinion, these are the best braces for jiu-jitsu. There's straps to make sure that they're not sliding up and down during training. There's like some gel in there to make sure that it's really stuck there, and great compression for inflammation. So I want to give you guys this on camera for you guys.
Cool. Thank you, man.
Bro.
You guys can check it out. I don't know if you guys ever heard about Anaconda Fightwear before.
Nah, man. We actually have one of our main training partners. He busted his knee in training. He actually is wearing one in the room. So, shoot, if I ever get injured, knock on wood, I got the.
Yeah. You need to give me like 6, bro. That's all I do is get injured,
you
man.
all. After we'll give them all to you.
We'll give them like the full suit.
Yeah, I need. Does Anaconda make body armor? Because I need some of that, man.
Like a knight in shining armor type.
Yeah.
Are you injury prone?
Yeah, man. Like I came from a time we know anything about rest or recovery. I just trained no matter what I was feeling a million times a day, and I never took care of myself, and then my body just bah 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 bah. Because the thing is like the thing about injuries, man. You get injured. You get injured. You come back too soon. You get injured again. You come back too soon. You get injured, and it cascades, man. And if you don't have a coach or a mentor looking out for you, and you're a young passionate dude who wants to get the shit done, sometimes you don't take the best care of yourself. So
well, if you guys are injury prone, make sure to use code SimpleMan15. You can get 2 braces for $59. All right. So make sure that for those that are injury prone, 2 for $59, Anaconda Fightwear.
They are constraints-based knee pads. They're constraints-based knee pads. They have straps, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are restraints. Those aren't constraints.
Same shit. It's okay. Constraints-based knee pads.
But
I have a one question.
Question.
I have a one question. Have you guys done these games for improving like rear naked chokes once you've scored the back?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Could you walk me through one of those? Like I'm interested in like what would that be once you're, because it's a very like tightly knit situation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what.
So we do different things. So I'll give you an example how we can use something that Danaher uses well, like some concept, and we can use that. So one thing he talks about all the time is the idea of moving the defenders. So I have one strangle arm, for example, and they have 2 defenders. And so if we know that
they
concept,
have 2 defending arms.
Yeah, 2 defending arms versus the 1 attacking. Let's just imagine.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? It's a good idea.
For a second, I'm like, there's 2 other people. I'm like, shit, there's another guy here. All right,
hey, he was your coach, fellas. Come on, man. Why do I know more? But no. So we have to remove those things. So maybe a task constraint to enhance someone's ability to strangle would be get to the hands and stay on the hands. So maybe we don't go right to the rear strangle at first. Maybe we just get the attacking player comfortable with staying on the hands and keeping them away from the neck while they stay on the back. Right? That could be a thing in and of itself. And maybe we complexify that next time by adding a task constraint to it. Let's say once we get on the hands, we want to move them as far away from the neck as possible and try to get one arm around the back. Take your palm and just touch your partner's back. If your palm touches your partner's back, you win the game. Now, the reason we would use something like that is depth. So rather than tell somebody get around the neck, give them an obvious hand position that you would need to get around the neck far to achieve. So you can't put your palm on someone's back unless you get all the way around the neck. So we can use those 3 ideas to create a pretty strong task to help people get better at that thing.
Nice. Okay, I like it. Would you not also? I guess it's like a squeeze the knees type of question. Like, would you not also maybe like go around the room like after that game's been played a bit and be like, all right, hey, here's like a trick to get that hand there, and then like. So rather than trick, like think about it. What would be required of you to get it? So first, why is a student failing? And then
what would they need to know to not fail? So it's not like the same trick works for everybody. Like an example for myself, it's like head and arm strangles are awful for me unless they're front facing. Like front headlock, like we're front headlock position, I'm really good at them. But once we're chest to chest, I'm trash. And I've been trying them for years. I've listened to every detail and everything, still can't get the fucking thing. So no one's details help me, and I do not know why. My only point is to say that what may work for you might be poison for him and vice versa.
So like in that specific situation, if you're having trouble finishing a front, so you're saying like an arm triangle?
If we're like chest to chest, arm triangles, man, terrible for me.
I think it's like the worst submission in
all
jiu-jitsu.
the time.
It's what?
I think it's like the hardest, the most difficult submission to accomplish in jiu-jitsu.
It's very like subtle.
I think it's too easy to cell phone.
It's hard, but like, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, chest to back, like Darce, Anaconda style, palm to palm, I can do them all day long.
Yeah.
But once it's chest to chest, I'm trash.
So if you're having trouble getting that down, wouldn't it benefit you to just be like, all right, to my partner, like, all right, don't move, like, let me just figure this out. Like, talk about, none of that.
No, because resistance changes everything. The information we use to organize is the resistance itself. So how hard to squeeze, how deep the arms must go are relative to the resistance we receive. It's like, I'm going to use this example and I'm going to get fried for this one, but it's like picking up a cup that has water in it. You don't know how hard to squeeze until you initially start to pick it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you
like
literally
a feedback system.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the way the way I look at, like, if I were to like try to figure out an arm triangle that let's say the coach taught me, like you were just doing in a class, he's like, hey everyone, this is an arm triangle, go and do it. 1, 2, 3, we go. And I'm like, fuck, I can't get this. Like I'd be like, hey, don't resist this at all. Let me just kind of like reverse engineer it. Let me see like how I can get my arm in a perfect placement, and then reverse engineer it. Then be like, okay, now like kind of try to, shimmy your way out of this. Okay, now put your hand here, and then like I know like the perfect spot because I tried it with 0 resistance, and now I kind of like reverse engineer it with the defenses and the movement. And is that not?
It's not good because you said the perfect spot if they're not resisting. So for no resistance, there's a perfect spot. But for different levels of resistance, they're perfect spots. So there are many perfect spots, but it's relative to the resistance, the sweat, the fatigue.
Don't they all end up in the same, like if the guy's resisting, sure, it'll be a different arm triangle, but then it'll kind of funnel into that perfect one where his arm, goes across and he's.
I'm sorry. No, you're because no. You're getting towards something we talk about is invariant. No. It's honestly just a misunderstanding of how humans organize their movement. Like you're asking actually a complex and interesting question. It just seems simpler than it is. You're getting to this thing we call invariants. Invariants are things that must happen in order for something to occur. So yes, there are things that must be done with a head and arm strangle that if you don't do, you will never get it. Those are embedded as tasks, and there's enough room in each that you as the individual can figure that out. And you're gonna have to figure it out anyway. Not only for your initial first, I can do this, but each time you grab a different body, you're gonna try to fulfill the invariant features that allow it to happen, or the invariant functions, but each detail for each person, each time is gonna be slightly different. And we're really teaching you how to search that space and to organize online in real time how you need to relative to the demands of the task.
That makes a lot of sense. Like honestly, the picking up the cup thing makes a lot of sense. Like the end goal is picking up the cup, but if the cup is empty, I can have a certain resistance, or I can squeeze a certain amount. But if it's very heavy, I have to squeeze more. So it's like that makes a lot of sense, that picking up the cup.
And we're not thinking, when we're picking up a cup, we're not thinking about pressures or anything. We're just trying to accomplish our task. And I came on this podcast to keep Greg podcast friendly. So like,
thanks, man.
But no, what Ethan is talking about, like that perfect alignment against a non-resisting body. For sure, the thing that's invariant to all arm-in strangles, whether it's with your legs or with your arms, is that delt, your opponent's delt, has to be touching their arm. That's why you say like the cell phone thing, it opens that space up, right? But if we organize around trying to make their delt touch their neck, and then our part of our body, whatever it may be, leg or arm, closing off the other side, that's what we're talking about invariance, right? It doesn't. Organizing around the objective will solve our problems against a variety of bodies. Does
sure.
that make sense?
For sure, that makes a lot of sense. Can you, I think the conceptual framework of CLA is very important, but I actually think your description of invariance is even more important for people that are trying to understand what you guys are doing. So can you explain invariance and just for the listeners?
Got to be careful about this one because I made a mistake. When I discovered this invariant thing while reading through the literature 8 years ago, and that's what I started designing my practice around. And I realized I had a pretty clear understanding of it. I checked my understanding of it with researchers, subject matter experts, PhDs, and they all kind of gave me the green light. Like the way you're using this idea from the literature fits well in your framework. So I started trying to explain this to the community, and people started conflating it to mean things that it didn't mean. So I can try my best, but again, you guys are gonna get mad because it's gonna sound like a nerd ass shit. So
we're not. We don't get mad. We don't.
I mean, I don't mean mad. I mean like the listeners are like, man, Greg sounds like a pretentious asshole.
They'll get mad at everything.
Yeah,
as soon as Damien opens his mouth, there.
No, the thing is, I just
rip me an asshole.
Dude, they hate you. I don't know why.
Dude, I don't know. The past couple episodes have been okay, but for the past maybe like 4 months, I've been getting some crazy shit.
Dude, all the ones when you're not on, they're like, yeah, dude, I'm not on. I know.
It's a love
you, bro. I'm serious. Like, I didn't really get a chance to hang out with you or meet with you. The conversation we had yesterday, I learned. I was like, "Yo, Damien's on." Like, the whole reason I decided to come on here was because of you. You were like right there, and these two motherfuckers were like, got you back away from it, and I was like, "No,
wait,
they're holding me back."
Yeah,
what did we
yeah.
do? When I first started talking about ecological/CLA,
What did I say?
I don't really know, but I was
No,
like, no,
it's like you were like, "Oh, I think drilling's still necessary." And he's like, "Yeah, I guess you're right." And I was like, "No." So I had to come on here and snatch you back from the jaws of death.
Well, I'm back.
Yes.
So. Yeah, so all you haters, man, he's the man. You just haven't had a real conversation
Drilling
with him.
sucks.
So.
Don't drill. You're stupid if you drill. All right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys wouldn't go over the exact way you should rear naked choke somebody?
There's no exact way outside of what must happen.
But there's a better way.
There is a way that
best
must
way.
happen.
So this is what he's saying, like invariance, like so to strangle somebody from the back, like both sides of the carotid have to be compressed or whatever. So it's like you want your arm to be in that position.
But there's a way to rear naked choke where if you do it this exact way, it'll work on everybody.
Okay, yeah. So if you need to put something on either side of the neck, you need to compress. So you could do it palm to palm, you could do it palm to elbow, you could do it a bunch of different ways. You can get your head involved, you can get your legs involved. As long as there's compression on both sides, that's an invariant feature of the human body that we use to create the invariant function of strangleability.
But there are people that are way more difficult to strangle.
But that doesn't
they can
mean-
force more blood in their brain.
Dude,
They can-
100%.
Breathe
But that
through their
doesn't
ears.
change the fact that if I don't get double closure or get both sides, we're not going to finish anybody. Now, because there are things that do affect the outcome. There are novelties. There are things that we can't prepare for, like someone who can breathe through their ears. We've all tried to strangle that guy.
Yeah.
But you knew all the details and you're there. Why didn't you finish it, you know? So the thing is you're going to have to respond to what's happening to you in real time. And so what do we focus on to do that? And that's where the idea of invariance come from. We teach to them. So if we know that getting on both sides of the neck is the thing that does it, regardless of which human you're strangling, that becomes the task focus as we learn how to strangle necks. And we do it in as many different ways as possible, with our legs, with our arms, at different angles, against different bodies and different time scales, under different levels of fatigue.
How about the nuances of getting your hands in the correct placement? Like you talked about, putting your palm on his scapula. That's cool.
Just
but how
back.
about like, when we teach rear naked chokes, we're talking about like when to concave the chest, the position of the elbow when you put the wrist behind the head, things like that make a tremendous difference when putting someone to sleep.
So I've never, ever discussed any of that with one of my athletes. My athletes strangle people all the time. So I'm not using myself as an anecdote. My only point is that those things aren't necessary. They might be interesting details. They might be interesting things that you think are happening, but they also might not be happening as well. Right? We don't have a good metric for, am I actually doing these things I'm saying I'm doing? What is this concave? Is this concave? Is this concave? Like how concave? All the way concave? Just a little bit concave. It gets crazy.
Well, I mean, when it comes to live competition, generally you're just doing the things that you're reacting, right? You're doing that. You're not really.
Well,
I'm not consciously thinking. I'm
exactly
right. So I'm doing the things that I've trained in this live situation,
right? In real time. So all those details you say are important. You're not even. That's not even going on.
No, but they're happening because I've drilled them, and it's my muscle memory. Like when I watch back my CJI, you know, I'm taking people's back. I'm seeing concave chest. I'm seeing elbow high, wrist low. I'm seeing pressing my chest back in, and I'm seeing a rotational strangle,
and you're saying
which is everything I've drilled over and over throughout the years that now I don't have to consciously think about. I just do.
I don't know how to get in this without going deep into the fucking weeds.
How do you discuss with fools?
I like this conversation because one thing that didn't change, you know, in practice or when you were competing, is the objective that you're trying to get. It was getting under the chin, right? So when you were practicing, whether you know, at post practice, you're talking about you were concaving here, it all served for the objective that you were trying to get. Maybe me and you know, I'm trying to get under your neck, you're trying to get under my neck. Like maybe I don't need concavity based on my build, you know, but the objective we're both after is the same. Does that make sense? So when you introduce things like that, like concavity, you can, but you have to ask yourself, is that a informational constraint that's useful for everybody? If it's useful for you and it serves you, for sure, keep going with it. But from the coach's perspective, you have to kind of ask, is that going to work for Damien, Ethan, myself, Gavin, you know?
Help me out.
I think so what I actually will defend their point in a slightly different way.
He's with us.
I think I've come to the dark side. I think what they're kind of saying, like obviously the invariants in strangles are constant, right? It's invariant, but maybe the skills that you drilled, okay, they didn't transfer drilling to competition. Rather, you did those things in practice naturally, and that skill then transferred to the competition. So it's like
it's something I learned.
But the thing is, was it the drilling statically that did it, or was it you doing backgrounds over and over and over and over and over again?
I mean, for me, I drilled it a few times to understand it. Then I try to do it in a live situation, get it over and over in a live situation, and then it's muscle memory. Every time I get there, I do the same thing.
But was it the drilling part or the
causing a
live
rift between
training
friends?
that actually did it? No. Well,
Destroying this friendship.
Well, this is a serious question because this is where I started to start.
Well, I'm not thinking of drilling like doing it 100 times. I'm like, do it once or twice.
You understand the effect of what it was creating, and then when you understand the effect that you were trying to get, you put it in a live situation, and then what you did to gauge if that movement solution was successful was its effectiveness. So do you see what I'm saying? It's like once you start to couple these things of conditions and effects, right? So you started paying attention to, like in your words, concavity or whatever, and it created an effect,
which allowed me to get my secondary hand in the proper position.
And those are movement solutions that you understand its effects, and that's why you see it when you do CJI or ADCC. That is something that you have developed because of its effects. Does that make sense? Not necessarily because of the drill. It's your understanding of the effects that allow you to get
but you don't think you should just like drill it once or twice to get it, and then you do it in a live situation?
Well, here's the thing. Let's imagine that drilling is just an attentional focus. So you want to like have someone sit there in front of you and like, oh, arm around the neck. Okay, I got that. And then go do it live. Fantastic. Yeah. But that drilling had no more effect than just changing your attention. That's all it did for you. It just got you to look somewhere differently. And if that's what you use it for, like just a quick model of the rep, fine. But again, it's not the repeated movement that creates the skill. It's the
resistance training that creates a skill.
Exposing yourself to the problem and using that attention that you gave yourself and that intention you gave yourself and trying to use it to solve the problem.
Were the effects consistent, and that buys you into whatever movement solution you develop. Does that make sense? That's kind of what Damien was.
But like at the end of the day, if you're having a trouble getting your secondary, like let's talk rear naked choke. If you're having your trouble getting your secondary hand in the proper place, you're gonna be like, oh, I should concave, I should bring my elbow high.
Well, if that was the problem, so why can't you get the arm around? That's the first thing we have to define, right?
And that moves your attention to where to search. Does that make sense? Because you're running into a problem, you understand.
So, but wouldn't it just to be like, hey, whenever you get to the back, like you do this? Because when I get to the back, I'm like, I mean, I'm just going to repeat myself, but like concave chest, elbow high, wrist low, slide the hand in there, re-engage the chest,
All for the purpose of
rotational finish on the neck.
getting on the neck, right? Like
Or the face, or the,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right
that's
or the
what- oh,
eyebrows.
yeah. make them do this, right? That was the that's the effect.
But
So what you're saying is you through your practice, you're kind of shifting your attention to different things for creating this effect.
for the same purpose.
Well, let's say you had 6 people and you asked them each, how did you get around the neck? And they each said different things. Who's right?
It didn't matter because everybody got the objective. My bad. Well, in that case, it didn't matter because everybody got the objective they needed.
So then which was the correct detail?
We're not talking about around the neck. We're talking about
Make them do this.
finish.
Well,
Make
yeah,
them
so
do
let's
that.
say, okay, finish. You have 6 different people, and you asked each of them, what were the details you used to finish? And each gave you a different detail, and none had the same. Which one is the right detail?
The one, so we'd have to test it differently. We'd have to see who goes to sleep or who doesn't.
Well, like,
That's what we're going for. Because when it comes to breaks or submissions, we want to. Sometimes you have to break a guy.
Everybody strangles, everyone goes to sleep, and all 6 scenarios each have different reasons for why. Whose reason is right if the effect was had in all 6 situations?
The person that used the least amount of strength.
Oh, okay, that's not
Which would be the most
efficiency.
amount of
I would say
technique.
efficiency is a good mark of high level skill, but then we would have to determine.
We're differentiating skill and technique.
I would say technique is a expression of skill in a moment relative to the demands of the situation.
So is that a yes?
No, I mean, I know that this seems nuanced and it's like it doesn't matter, but if we're really trying to define terms and we're really trying to talk honestly about the nature of reality, we're going to have to go a little deeper than just saying words. And I'm not saying that to be like, whatever, but like we say technique, what do we really mean when we say that?
It's okay. He's losing me too, bro.
What do I mean? Well, I'm saying, I mean, how do we
Here,
define
basically,
technique? My smart friend, my Filipino friend, help me.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think like the conversation is. Yeah, we're both all 3 of us.
That's
Filipinos,
why
so I'm talking
what's up,
about.
brother?
You got to be with my bros. you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Basically, the real debate is: did you get better at the strangle because drilling it twice, or the live training? Their argument is that you actually didn't need to do the drilling, even though you think that you did. What they're saying is like just pay attention on what's going on during the live training, and you will eventually build that skill, and that's what allowed you to do it at the highest levels versus the static drilling. Because technically, if static drilling was the sole method to progress skill, then the people that drill for 8 hours a day every day would be the best athletes. But most likely the guys that are most intentional during the live training get the best results oftentimes.
Okay, so my opinion is that there's something to be said for muscle memory, and I think an aspect of that is just doing it physically absolutely perfect with minimal resistance a couple times to get your body to be like, all right, this is exactly what I'm going for, and then we add in resistance. So I mean, a lot of my early training, all of my training partners were far better than me. So I'd get something decent like once or twice in an hour of live training, which, well, I definitely would have got better if I was going with lesser people.
Well, you're actually talking about the problem of scaling. That's a real problem. So you were in a suboptimal environment for quick skill acquisition because you were introduced at a level being asked to do something that was beyond your current. That's tough. Mm-hmm. So getting the people you're training with closer to where you are, we can help you acquire that skill faster. So that's not a not technique problem. That's a scaling problem. Okay. So yeah, it's not a good scale. The other thing, and what if I told you this, you can look it up yourself, you guys. What if I said that you keep saying muscle memory, but it's not actual thing, like at all? Like nowhere in any skill acquisition literature ever was that shown to be a property of the human musculoskeletal system.
Well, muscle memory.
So can I add a little bit?
Yeah, hop in.
The muscle memory thing. If I had to, because there are times in my training previous, like, oh, I remember this.
Muscle memory is like flow state.
But it happens after the fact. Like oh, I remembered it. I think it's what we're referring to is just an environment where it felt familiar. And our, what we're perceiving in the environment and our actions were just very linked together. what I would say there is just that's just like regular memory.
Yeah, but
know
would you
what
call reactions muscle memory or regular memory? Because I'm not I don't know about you guys, but in competition, things are happening. I'm seldomly like thinking like, oh, I should stand up now. I should grab this wrist. I'm kind of just.
I mean, like we were talking earlier, it's like that information in the live environment and your actions as a skilled. So what happens as we become more skilled? The information we see and our actions become so linked together that it doesn't. Thinking is not there, like you're describing.
Your brain's not thinking, but your body is.
Can we kind of go off on that? What?
Yeah.
That is not considered muscle memory.
Well, so I mean, muscle memory is not a thing. This is a colloquialism that we just say. It's not a thing.
If my brain wasn't here, my body would work perfectly. It would know exactly what to do.
Because regular memory in my mind is something that's not linked to my physical self. Like you ask me a historical fact that I might remember,
right.
I just say that. But it's like if you blindfold a soldier, he can
clean
through
his
muscle
gun.
memory, clean his gun and you know.
But there's other information than just sight.
That's right.
There's sound. That's acoustic information.
But doing the things that's not considered muscle
muscles
memory.
in your ears.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing.
Yeah. Or I mean, I guess we have to just remember that information is just not visual information. You know,
It's muscular information.
Well, okay. Like, what about okay? Say like I shoot a gun and then I do a tactical reload, right?
Yeah.
You're telling me grabbing my, and I don't know. That really spiked my curiosity.
Yeah.
Me grabbing my magazine and putting it back in, recocking and shooting again. That is not muscle memory.
No. So the way they describe it in literature they read is something called an attractor state. So the idea is that there's information out there to act upon, and it's like a landscape of information. Opportunities for action that are more obvious or less obvious. And we get connected to them through training. So as we train, we learn where to pick up that information. So the more you touch your gun, the more you draw, the more you practice that thing, you become more linked to the information required for you to interact in that way. And it develops this tightly linked state called an attractor state. We're attracted to that behavior. And it's not so much a memory the way we think about it. And that's a hard thing to talk about, honestly. That would be getting too deep into it. Because now we're talking about the nature of memory. Where does it sit? Yeah. Is it stuff out there, stuff in there?
I have muscle memory, right?
You're the only one, bro. You're it.
You got
Check this out.
too, so you probably have more muscle, more memory.
You know,
you got it all. We're little bodies out here. We don't got memory. So.
On Sundays, I try to take a rest day, right? And at noon, like 11 o'clock, that's when I train. But Sundays, I try to go out and get some food. A lot of times, I'm driving to get food, but when I open my eyes, I just pull up at practice. That is muscle memory. So that could be muscle memory.
Yeah,
potentially.
Brain damage.
But you ever been driving somewhere and like, right?
Yep.
The Lord just grabs.
Sometimes I just drive into someone's living room.
We were talking about that earlier. Like you were talking about like me and Gavin have a regular job. I do that every morning because like one, kind of don't want to go to work, but you just remember keys in and you're at the office. But yeah.
What one quick question? No shit. Fuck. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
AI answer this for us. Yeah, muscle memory is a real phenomenon. No.
But I said a but. However,
put it on chat.
Give me a second. Oh, this one. I gotta go back. Cut the bottom off.
Yes, muscle memory is a real phenomenon, but it is not exactly what it seems. While muscles themselves don't remember, the brain's ability to recall and automate movements, as well as the muscles' increased responsiveness to retraining, are both key aspects of what often is called muscle memory.
Yeah, so this is actually known in the hypertrophic literature about growing muscles, is that like, I guess all the cells and everything inside are very sensitive to the change they've once experienced. So when you go reintroduce the cells to that level of stimuli, you can get back to your previous state faster than you
isn't it
acquired.
because there's more muscle nuclei or something?
It's something like that. It has to do with like all the shit that's inside there.
Yeah, basically like if you lifted for 10 years and then you took a year off, but then you started lifting again, you'll grow back.
You have literally more muscle cells, not just.
And that goes into why like PEDs are dangerous. Even if you cycle off, you trained with PEDs, so you may be more retrainable. You know, that's something I've been pondering that. I don't know.
Retrainable?
Like that's what that chat prompt said.
Like, you're saying from say everything you said one more time.
So like that chat prompt was saying like in terms of actual muscles, like if you like Damien said, if you train for 10 years and you took some time off, you know, you lost size, you started getting smaller, it's easier to get back up. It won't take you 10 years to get back to that state again. And I was trying
Because your muscle remembers?
Maybe. There's no memory in the muscles, but but like you're saying that I don't
more
know
muscle nuclei.
Yeah, I don't know the mechanism.
I remember.
Yeah, you could talk to Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike will tell you.
Talk to God. What's the dude? Lyle McDonald. If you want to know anything about hypertrophy, talk to Lyle McDonald. Look up his stuff. Not Dr. Mike.
I'll tell you about hypertrophy. I'm hypertrophied up.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the only way I
You
lifted.
win trophies.
Yeah, that's the only way I lifted for like 7-8 years. Just go for the pump, bro.
Hey,
Next,
I can tell.
High volume, baby.
Oh yeah, we were gonna say something.
No, but I was saying like that. I was thinking about that. What like if that's true, like you could retrain like back to that state. What happens if you did it 10 years on PEDs?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you get
A heart attack.
cool, yeah. But you know what I'm saying. You take time off. I wonder. You may not be able to train back to that state, but the rate of getting back to that state may be.
Doesn't the Olympics
it's
ban
what?
like for life,
I'm
or
kinda,
there was
I'm
talk
kind of
about it,
confused
right?
about what you're saying. You're saying
Here, I'll try to
layman's
simplify.
terms.
Speaking in Nicky Rod
basically,
language.
Imagine it takes you 10 years to get to current state.
no
peak.
PEDs.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
No,
Well,
it matters.
PEDs is PEDs. Yeah.
PEDs, okay.
10 years while on PEDs to get X state.
Okay.
All right. Now you take a year off because you're hurt, whatever. You start to shrink.
No PEDs.
We'll say off
PEDs.
PEDs. We'll say
Okay.
off PEDs. Yeah, cycle off completely. Now, the time we'll say to get half that strength, right? So 5 years on PEDs to get a certain strength. When you're off completely, it might only take you 1 year to get to that half. You might not actually get to the 10-year peak PED performance, but what they're saying is this muscle memory that the chat is talking about is that you'll increase your rate of muscle acquisition in a shorter amount of time. Exactly.
Okay, but while you're off PEDs, you want to go back on? Is what you're saying?
No. Well, that's the discussion.
That
We
was
don't
the
know.
discussion. Like let's say like for example, right? You're not competing. You're just taking PEDs, and then you're in a sport that tests. You cycle off. Are you like you're saying, like if we get tested off, but you're able to gain that, some of that back.
You're still natural, but technically, you might gain your strength
because
faster
your ceiling is now higher than it's
because
ever
the
been.
muscle memory, in
absolutely.
a sense,
Yeah.
type of thing. But now, just to move off of this nonsense, enough like, so this is a very different approach than all jiu-jitsu essentially from the beginning, from the most part. I think, John has a very specific way that he approached the game.
Yeah.
This is clearly something that you need extensive understanding about before bringing it to jiu-jitsu. Like this, I'm telling you, when I first heard about it, I was like, this makes no sense. This is honestly, in my mind, I was like, this is retarded.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you actually like listen to it, and it takes, a decent amount of time to try to actually understand it, it makes a lot of sense. So what made you come across, like, how did you come across CLA or the ecological approach, however?
For sure.
I know Rob Gray was one person that inspired you, right?
Because Rob Gray started a podcast in 2015 sort of trying to introduce these ideas to the world because it was actually relatively new. Like the idea of like movement variability in a system for elite movers was discovered like 100 years ago. So the big first thing was elite people at something have more movement variation than novices. And that
Repeat that one more time.
Elite movers, people who do things at a high level, have more movement variability in the thing they do than beginners.
I understand.
And that's an interesting thing. So why is there no consistency in their movement? But yet they found there was consistency in their outcome. So like the classic example we talk about all the time is the Bernstein's blacksmiths. He was looking at blacksmiths. They could always hit the anvil and do their thing, but their arm would do all kinds of different shit, right? And so that started the sort of discovery, like what the hell is happening? If we don't control our movements by like thinking about them or by like focusing on where elbow and wrist and shit are, how do we do it? Anyway, so that led to this whole thing. And so the constraints not approach was first introduced in 1986, and then it was pushed further in around 1996, 1997. So it's relatively new stuff. It's just not that popular, right? So anyway, as I started looking into it, finding out how to be better a coach, be better teacher, whatever, I just ran into it.
But you found it from Rob
well,
Gray?
So he's the professor that I learned the most from, because the information was scattered all over the place. So in 2014, when I first read the first paper on self-organization, it was from a researcher named Michael Turvey. And he's notoriously difficult to read because he thinks at such a high level, it's very difficult to understand what he's talking about.
I'd never understand that.
Yeah, don't even. I mean, I'm not saying it's beautiful stuff, but it takes too much time, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it was interesting. No, it really does, man. Like I had to read the shit out of it. You know what I mean? We spent so much time.
I'd read the shit out of that thing. Sorry, start going.
No, it's good. It's good.
Disrespectful,
I'm sorry,
unbelievable.
But no, so then I Rob Gray, I was like, oh, this is good stuff. And I would just listen to it every day. Every day I would just listen. And it just sounded convincing. It was helping me see the things that I was seeing, but that I didn't understand. Like, for example, you'd see a move. Step 1, step 2, step 3, drilling, right? And it made all kinds of sense. But when you watch people grapple, you never see that. And I was like, why don't we ever see that shit? You know what I mean? What's all this crap in the middle? What's all this like wildness? The ecological approach, CLA, sort of describes what that is. And that was what was convincing for me. And then I started applying it with almost no understanding of it. And I started seeing results almost right away from its base application. And I didn't even know if I was doing it right or not. And I was like, man, I think I should keep going in this direction. And that's it. I just kept going.
Wow. Now, sorry, what were you going to say?
Did you ever compete yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Did you apply this the whole way through, or did you ever drill yourself? Did you come up like doing that, or?
Yeah, I came up. So
what's your like origin?
Lloyd Irvin.
Story?
I was a Lloyd Irvin student. That's where I came from.
Nice.
And we did lots of live work, but we also did lots of drilling. And that's what was our culture. That's what we did.
For sure. Yeah.
So
what years were you there?
2004. I actually remember my very first time walking into a jiu-jitsu gym. It was February 10th, 2004.
Okay. Wow.
And I was like hooked right away. I was like, oh, this is it. I'm not doing anything else for the rest of my life. Like I swear to God, like I was like
awesome.
Instant.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to be a competitor. I actually started an affiliate school. And then I was at that affiliate school training with Lloyd's like once or twice a week in the mornings. And then I ended up moving down there in 2007. And during that process, so I competed from 2004 until 2009 when I broke my neck.
Fuck.
Damaged my spinal cord, all this crazy shit. Yeah, it's just bad, man. And
were you around with the Keenan, JT era?
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
They were all my training partners, man.
Sick.
Like Andres Brunovskis, Keenan Cornelius, DJ Jackson.
Yeah, DJ.
Everybody, man.
You break it in training?
Yeah, man. It was crazy. It was an act. Me and this blue belt were going, and I went to come up on a single leg, and he had my head twisted like in the gi, and I was like coming up, and he jumped guard like as I was coming up, and so basically it like sat me back on my butt like this, and he fell on the back of my head, and it just was like in the movies, like snap. And like my arm died, like literally just died, and I couldn't move it. And I was rolling around that screaming because it was like I felt like fire got poured down my arm, and I thought I dislocated my shoulder. I didn't think it was my neck. I trained on it for 10 months, and I had no idea my neck was broken, and I started having all kinds of weird symptoms. Anyway, long story short, found out, and there goes my jiu-jitsu career. So. Lloyd tried to help me get back after a year. I disappeared for like a year, and he was like, "Why don't you transition to coaching?" And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna try that shit." And so,
that injury was so bad that you couldn't like recover in time to compete.
I didn't realize how bad it was because I just was so focused on my goal that I competed 2009. I submitted my first 3 guys and lost my 4th round at Purple Belt Worlds. I got submitted by Lucas Hosha. He took my back
no
and
gi or
gi. I was a diehard, dyed in the wool gi guy.
Okay, yeah.
Like I trained with the gi on, got my black belt on 12 years, right, with the gi on.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be competitive, blah, blah, blah. Neck thing. That year I competed, my arm, my wrist, and from my wrist to my shoulder was the same size. But I didn't know what that meant.
Like crazy.
I was like, what the hell is that? Anyway,
Wow.
I got my test results back from a thing they did, and they were like, I would have thought you were a 75-year-old stroke victim if I wasn't sitting here in front of you. He's like, your arm barely works, and you're experiencing what's called Lermite signs. So basically, it's called a Lermite sign.
Lermite.
Yeah, I don't have to spell it.
I don't know either.
French thing.
Okay.
Anyway, when I would get my head pulled on, my legs would go like shaky and numb.
Whew.
I was experiencing the precursors to paralysis, and I had no idea. And so that just really wrecked me, man. Like it was so bad.
Yeah.
That's why you need good coaches. Get you out of that.
Yeah.
Get you off that mat.
You get put back together?
Not really, man. I saw 3 different surgeons, decided not to go the surgery route. The dude basically said, like, yo, if you can't feel your hands, come back to see me.
You feel them?
I can feel my hands. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick. Me too. Me too, bro. I feel them so much.
It's good to have one in the same.
Yeah.
No, and then just, no more competition for me.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what
cool.
I mean? Then
Yeah.
I decided to transition to coaching. But yeah, I used to compete.
Awesome. But okay, so you yourself were never able to like do the constraints.
No, I mean, when I first heard about it, I didn't know really what it was. So then I was like, well, if I don't need to do, if techniques don't exist and we don't teach the technique, because they talk about that in the literature. It's not just a jiu-jitsu thing. They talk about like there's no perfect pitching technique or kicking technique or bat swinging technique. So I was like, well, what about that for jiu-jitsu? What if there's no perfect technique? Well, what would I need to do? And so then I started experimenting with myself. What if I just did this sort of bit? And see if I could get a result. And that's what I started doing. And I was like, oh, this shit's kind of cool. And then I would use myself as the tester, and then I would give those tasks to my students. That's how I first started trying to understand it.
And they took to it, and it kind of.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. And I was like, I started like taking things away. Like, let's take away the warm up. Let's take away the talking. Let's take away the drilling.
Take away their money.
Funny. Well, here's the thing. Check this out. Imagine
That's a Jew. It's a Jew thing.
I'm gonna
It's my
take,
first. Sorry.
Dude, I'm going to take your money and I'm going to teach you how to do
Take
something.
their land.
Like,
Sorry.
how do you know how to do something? You're all confident. You build your school. You build your website. And I'm going to teach you jiu-jitsu. You don't fucking know if you can teach or not. Yet you feel happy taking their money, don't you?
Damn
Hell yeah.
Damn straight.
Sorry,
got him
I mean,
up.
no.
Y'all got him. You woke up Greg, man. He's on.
Yeah.
I got a monologue and rant. You know what I'm saying?
But I would say
Yeah.
though, when I first got there, he was still kind of figuring it out too.
Yeah.
Like I remember we were still maybe COVID. Like I said, COVID gave us a lot of time to experiment, and we were kind of doing like what you were describing, like 1 or 2, like just feelers, and then go live. But then like when he started reading more about it, and I started reading more about it, and we started just going. Fully adopting the CLA, because there was a break-in period too, because we didn't know, like, no one knows if you're in the right direction. You just only see your results, right, and say, all right, if we're getting good results, we should keep.
Then
going.
we're training properly,
Yeah.
and yeah.
I mean, it's trial and error the whole
it's
time.
feedback, yeah.
So, and we only know based on our outcomes. So, if our outcomes are not if our outcomes were not what we expected. We change something. That's just in general skill development. Yeah.
What we do with Dima is the CLA, the base round.
Would you? Oh.
No.
No, I'm joking.
No.
But I wouldn't necessarily consider it like CLA the same way that these guys are approaching it, because
You don't think it's the same?
Like the base round, like if your partner gets you
Disengage.
down, or if you are able to disengage, then you kind of win. It's like maybe not as
like the base round might be like one game, but
He doesn't have multiple games.
in a sense, it's not the same. It's like
No.
maybe like shared, but it's kind of hard to say that it's CLA while also drilling.
It's more like a warm-up game.
in a sense. Yeah, it's more like warm up. You are building the skill of trying to.
it's
stay
a
up on top.
constraints learning like, isn't it your
CLP.
constraints learning approach, right? That's CLA, right?
It's constraint led.
Led approach, sorry, constraints led approach. So it's like you're approaching. It's being led by constraints.
I don't know. Like,
Being led by constraints.
Yeah, you're told to do something within these limits instead of just go live or do the static drill. Like, is it not
like,
that?
Like the base round is like a version of that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like, for example, like the test lock or these ankle locks that
Those
we're
are
going over.
drills.
But if we were to use CLA, it'd be more so like start in this specific ashigarami.
Yeah,
or
and if you're
whatever,
able
and
to lock a triangle below the knee, then
Type
you
of-
win a point or whatever. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. Or if you can finish from this position, that would start to look more like CLA in my opinion. But I don't really
Okay,
understand.
okay.
I'm trying to understand.
Yeah,
it,
no,
you know.
and when we say CLA, is like it's just the academic literature that's like guiding the way he designs practice. This isn't not like one CLA or not CLA. It's just it's information that we use to guide our practice.
The CLA is constraints led approach. So like the skill acquisition is through the idea of leading through constraints. So like it's
So do we lead through
like
constraints?
it's literally like
Hold on a sec.
maybe it didn't make sense.
You should. There should be an academy called Constraints Led Academy. That would do well.
Yeah, bro, it's a university, UCLA.
UCLA. Yeah, I keep saying it's CLA. I'm like, where have I heard this before?
Wait, can you tell the guys about yesterday you talked about an experiment or research done with the batters.
Yeah.
And it was backing up the idea that there is no perfect technique.
Yeah.
I started to push back a little bit, I think,
sure.
on what about like proper technique. Can you explain this?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Rob Gray, the professor I learned a lot of this from, he did a study with batters, Major League Baseball players, and he had them do suboptimal batting. Like they had to still swing the bat and hit a ball pitched by a person, but they were asked to do weird things with, like hit the ball hard at the ground, hit the ball straight up in the air, hit the ball as far left as far right, and they were given these tasks to do just hitting the ball. It was the wrong way. It wasn't an optimal, hey, get it into left field and run around the bases, right? Just hit it real hard at the ground, hit it real high. And then after, I think it was 6 to 8 weeks, they did the study, and they looked at all the, because basically there are metrics that say like a batter has improved. I don't know what they are. I don't know shit about sports. I just read this study. And all the metrics for improvement in batting went up for the people that did that. And so
that did the wrong
Yes.
Oh, wow.
There's no right or wrong.
Right.
So if you think about it this way, and again, there's probably mechanisms and nuances present that we really don't understand yet. But the easy way to think about it is we're learning how to be intentional. It's like what I said when we were training today. Like when we're thinking about entanglements, we're really just thinking about using our body in such a way to isolate one leg from everything else. And we're learning how to hold on to legs and move legs. So even if we're doing that in a non-tactically optimized manner, we're still learning how to move legs against resistance, because that's all it actually is, right? And it's interesting too, because it actually allows us to deal with novelty. Right? Things that we're not prepared for. So if I'm trying to take Ethan's leg and move from one side of my body to the other, as he's trying to get it out, I get really good at moving that leg around. So let's say you go into competition where you have to chase this guy's leg and you have lots of experience doing that, you're probably better at putting that leg where you want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit yesterday when because I wanted to hear how the guys felt in your class yesterday, or the session yesterday, and then he was like, we were talking about the guard passing round, where you have to get leg to the inside, 3 times before trying to actually move towards chest to chest position. And then we had already met, so I kind of already understood. And like I said the same thing, where you still are building a certain skill that you need to pass the guard that you might not have actually built had you just passed the guard right away.
Correct.
Like actually getting the foot to the inside. Mm-hmm. So we discussed that a little bit yesterday.
It's my turn to talk now?
Yeah,
you can talk.
Yeah. I can I go back to the rear naked stuff a little bit here?
Whatever you
I don't want to like...
It's your podcast, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we, beat it to the ground, but like... All right, so I really feel like let's say the technique of an arm switch, let's say, right? Like...
Yeah.
That would be such a shortcut to like tell a guy like, hey, check this out, do this once or twice under no resistance, like the model thing you said, like at some point, like if you want to do this as a model way to do it, go for it. Like that, I feel like when I teach people that, or when I see people trying to do that, like if they don't, sometimes I have them not even put hooks in and just only do the arm movement, because it's like a complicated like 1, 2, 3, 4 whatever sequence, like that's gonna save them so much time. Like then you go into the games, and then they'll have that muscle memory, whatever, that brain memory to just go 1, 2, and they feel like you feel it, you go, okay, a prime for an arm switch, 1, 2, 3, boom, done. Like that would save so much time and just get them the outcome of the rear naked choke submission.
So again, saying that saves time is a massive assumption about the effect of telling somebody that. Now it doesn't mean that that's not wrong, actually, because what you're doing is you're affecting their attention. You're letting them know that this thing is possible, and you're letting them experience it very quickly, and then you're putting them directly into the game. Guys, there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. But there's nothing special about having them go slow motion, fast motion, perfect technique. That's just nonsense. But just having them be like, okay, I want you to go one arm and then try to go the other. Man, try it 3 times. You want to give it a live go? Let's go. And then that's where the skill starts getting developed. The thing you showed them, the thing that they tried statically, just affects their attention.
So would you say you need both?
Both? What do you mean both?
Both, like...
No resistance,
like,
and
like drilling.
You need a focus of intention and attention. You have to know what you're trying to do, and you have to know where you're going to be searching for that information. And those 2 things have to be scaled to an appropriate level that your interaction is not going to prevent you largely from achieving some level of success during that interaction. So we don't actually, static is not a thing that needs to be done. It's our best guess. We have no idea how to scale something. Once we understand proper scaling, pull it out. It's useless. It serves no other purpose.
I think, Ethan, so basically, again, the idea that the arm switch, right? We just, and my gut instinct is that you are correct, but as I like try to understand it more, it's basically saying like your arm switch, teaching somebody the arm switch isn't actually important. However, if we identify that the arm switch is possible, then you can develop a game task for your student to say, get an arm around the neck with either arm. And now they're already, and I don't know, I'm not a game designer. I'm not a game designer, but that essentially then in turns it allows them to then now switch arms, and that's what actually develops a skill, not you teaching them how to do the proper arm switch. Because we just have to. I do have a question about that.
Yeah, before you do, you're on. You're right what you're saying. Okay. But let's make it more interesting, right? So let's say you let your students start on everyone's back with one arm all the way around as deep as you want it, and they have to be able to switch the arm without losing the neck. So I'm going to try to switch with, if my left arm's around, I need to get my right arm around and get my hand into the back. And then I need to go left, right. I have to keep doing that before I lose the hand. If the defender can get both hands on one of my arms, put their chin down before the other arm's around, they win the game. So now you're actually giving them opportunity to do the thing that you want them to do. That is where skills develops, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually what gets the students better, not necessarily them drilling it once or twice or at all. The real thing is that they have to know that it is an option. And that's where I do have a question about that because me personally, I would only know that things are possible oftentimes if they were done prior. So like I had to watch, I had to see Ethan's instructional, or maybe I had to even watch him do it, and now I know that's possible, and then I could try to build that skill. So how do you guys, say you that doesn't train jiu-jitsu like full-time anymore, you're a pure coach, how do you add new moves without learning the technique, I guess? Or new options, rather.
Don't say moves.
Don't say technique.
Oh, no. I'm actually, no, because
I'm joking.
You understand
I'm
what I'm saying.
fucking around.
Moves and technique are emergent. They happen in real time. They're differently each time. It's not that they don't exist. They don't exist as a perfect model, as a steady state. They're moments in time that come and go, right? So we know when we see one, we're like, oh, that's possible. This guy created a set of conditions that created an effect. What would I need to do to replicate that or get something that looks like it? That's a good question. So coaches historically can do that through watching their own practices, watching other people's practices, watching competitive matches, listening to what another coach might think about it. This is all healthy engagement. This is all the sharing of knowledge. But the question is, what do we do with it once we have it? That's the thing. So discussion, sharing, modeling. This is all good for sharing knowledge about the world, facts and shit. You know, it's like how many books you read in high school or college or whatever. All these facts that are gone from your mind forever, right? They don't do much.
I do think that would. Did you want to?
No, I was saying like when you look at instructionals or matches, I think one of the most valuable things is like it sparks some inspiration to try something. You know, you guys been watching the Japanese wrestlers lately?
Yeah, Ray
like
Gucci.
hand fighting.
They're killing it.
Ono and then.
I think you're talking about Baki.
No. I'm talking about Ono, Higuchi, you know,
nasty.
Goto,
Right,
I mean, I'm not in Japan, but I liked watching them, and like sometimes I just like to try to copy and see what happens. But when I try to copy, it's always live. It's like, oh man, this. One of the things I saw when I was watching Ono or Kotaro, the 65 kilo from Japan, their hand fighting is like boxing. They're touching and slapping, touching them back, but they're not hanging on like Russians or Iranians, right? Those guys hand fight like holding on. I said, man, that's pretty interesting. I wonder what's there. And it just like there was no further information than that. It was just inspiration. You could get that from an instructional. You could get that watching your training partners, and I think there's value in that. And then go out and beta test it. Go and try it.
I got you.
I want to build off that because it was actually something. So I asked him because I noticed he started changing his hand fighting, and I was like, "What do you think? What did you think about it? What are you paying attention to?" And he told this idea to me, and then so I was like, "All right, let's see if we can give that to the whole room." So then I created a new task where we call it consecutive touches. like wah, like not like hanging on, but 2 touches in a row, 2 touches in a row, to get more movement, to get more feinting, to get more faking, less hanging on. And now, like one of our guys, Romero, is really starting to affect his ability to do the single leg. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I took something I saw him do and some inspiration that he took from somewhere else. We re-engineered it based on what he was doing, gave it to the room, and started changing people's way they were hand fighting. You know what I mean?
He started just watching. It just started with just watching, and then he started, as he did his job to design an environment, a game to do that. Like the first game we were playing yesterday, I think we were like,
touch behind the knee.
Yeah, touch the head, or make their hands touch.
Yeah.
Like make snap down, right, and then touch behind the knee, and then once you collect enough of those, you can start trying to really shoot in or make connections. So that was like that was started for me just being interested in watching those lighter Japanese weights.
I would have loved like context before that game. I loved that game was sick. I would have loved context to hear about like Ray, like you're saying, like they're almost like boxing. I would have loved to hear that and then be like, oh, that's what they mean by like, okay, touch, like the emulate that kind of thing. And I would have even loved, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I would have even loved to just like, all right, no resistance, just like, all right, what are they doing? They bring your hands up and they move it down. Just like, so I could kind of get that perfect what to do with my arm. And then
there's no perfect.
Triggered.
Just to know what I'm aiming for.
The thing is, like, when I first saw it, I didn't do that. I just said, okay, what? So when I saw it, I was like, what were the effects that were created when I saw these guys do it? And it was like, oh, their hands, the guys are biting on feints. The guys are getting their hands down. They're like, they don't feel safe in their stance when these guys were hand fighting.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't necessarily something like a perfect sequence. It was like, I just know that they were fulfilling certain conditions. If I just could try to replicate those conditions and see, like, gain more information as I go live.
Okay. So never mind. Forget what I said.
No, let me talk, because I actually like what you asked, right? So there's a couple things. So here's what's interesting. Typically when he's preparing for competition, I just don't train with him. Like, it's real fucking hard for me. He fucks me up bad, right?
So it's doc mode.
It's bad.
Yes.
But so then it was like one day we had nothing going on. I was like, hey, I grabbed him first round, right? As soon as he touched me, just initial snap. It was, I've been training for 5 years. When he first got here, we trained a lot together. Like when he first came to the gym, first year or two. And I never felt like his snap like that. And it was like so new. And I watch him all the time. And I actually stopped and was like, fuck, bro. Like my face went to the mat. And he didn't have any details on when the right time was, when the right angle was. But it was the strongest snap he's ever done. Do you know what I mean? And then it starts becoming a thing he does. And so I thought that was really interesting. With no prior knowledge of how it works or whatever, he became very effective with it very quickly. So that's the first thing. I noticed that. And I was like, oh, shit, we're going to start doing this. Everyone's going to start doing this. That's some good shit. Now, the second thing I wanted to say was you asking about like conceptual knowledge, having discussions around why things are done. Dude, this is so valuable. If I could get students to actually be students and not just members of our academy, where I had time to do that level of discussion and not get in the way of practice, I would do it every day. Because I think it's reinforcing, culturally reinforcing, right? Humans like to listen to cool ideas and cool stories and cool reasons why. This can reinforce our search, our excitement, our inspiration, right? And so with you, hell yeah, man. If you were my student, we'd fucking talk all the time. Me and this dude used to talk about things constantly as we were creating new things.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing is more like those guys that really care about getting better. Because, there's guys that come in the gym that bounce. And then there's guys that just discuss and then just get nerd out about it. And I think that's what he's trying to describe, that cultural part of the team. I think that's, for sure. To be honest, I think that's more important than any approach, is like, is your team, are you aligned with your team? And that gets you far, And I was talking about it, like, you get like these high school recruits going into these different colleges. Everybody, all the D1 programs are good, right? And these guys might have their top 3 schools. Why do they go? Well, now there's NIL, right? Which is sick.
The money?
Yeah,
is that what? Yeah.
Yeah, but before, like, why did they go to this program? It was probably they aligned with the coaching culture, the partner culture, and they feel that they could, progress for that.
For sure.
It's too bad Joe's not here while you guys were here. He would have nerded out with you guys for hours.
I think Joe does a lot. He calls it tinkering. Tinkering. It's like, it's constraint.
It's like a little, resisting. You fuck around and find out.
Well, here's the thing. Like, we only have constraints to manipulate. We have individual constraints, cultural constraints, social constraints, time constraints, informational constraints. It's just things are interacting in the world, and there's a result of these interactions. We're just learning what they are and what relationships they control, and we're learning how to control those relationships. That's really it. We're just using what's already there, what's already affecting us as movers.
One question.
I want two.
I was going. Okay, so do you, besides the cultural aspect, do you think there's utility to actually discussing the reasons why you're doing something?
I do. I think discussing why enhances focus. It can enhance focus for some people, right? Especially if they really care about something. Like, there's an emotional component to what we do that can enhance our level of engagement. Like, someone who really enjoys what's happening in class gets more out of it than someone who doesn't. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So I think having fun conversations about things that interest us, like the nature of grappling, could be really beneficial for some people. You know, like I said, I use him. We did that a lot at first because he didn't think in this way yet. You know what I mean? I remember he'd be like, man, it's little Alex used to do this thing. He never told him about it. That when he would come home, she would record him. And then she was like, Coach Greg, listen to what DeAndre said. And she would like, you know, it was really cool to hear how excited he was about this new thing that he was doing. And I think that enhanced his engagement as a student. He's like, oh man, we're going to do this thing, or this is going to be new, it's going to be fun, it's going to be awesome. And man, it enhanced what was going on.
We're all students of the game. Like, you guys probably do the same thing. Like, once you find something that's, you feel like there's value, right? If there's value in it, you're like, oh shit, you feel good about your training. You know those times where you feel like you're on, and you feel like you're onto something. It just reinforces, you know, whatever approach you're doing, you know.
They called it technique only.
Yeah, technique only. It was technique only, then it was no technique only.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha. Okay, standard.
No,
then
I actually
opened it up?
Yeah, I opened it up. I had to. Like, I only had, like, the stories, I had $3,000 in my bank account. I was about to be like,
that's a ton of money. I don't know what you're,
when you have a job, it might be.
Yeah.
Like, when you don't have any skills and you've been doing jiu-jitsu, you've been a mat rat for 20 years, it's like, what do I do with my time, right?
Fucking buy a yacht.
Yeah. I took that money, bought some mats. I got a building. Someone helped me with my first month's rent. And I just like, please, people walk through my door. And
it picked up.
I got lucky, man.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So back to the idea of like invariance. Do you, when you're structuring your games or you're doing your sessions, do you tell the students the invariance for like an arm bar or a heel hook, or like do you explicitly say this, or only like the higher level students that come and ask you or discuss?
Yeah, if we were to sit and talk about it, we would, but it's already in the practice. So I'm already using it with task design. So when I design a day, a week, a month, a game, whatever, it's already in there. You know what I mean? It's built into the task. But if students say, hey, why are we doing this? I just tell them. Invariant means the things we must do. So we're going to focus on doing these 3 things because you must do them. Any variation outside of these, as long as your task is performed, is fine. So win the game, create the condition, complete the objective. As long as these things are focused on, you're good to go.
Interesting. What is the language that you guys use? Since you guys don't actually, there has to be a communal language, you know, for coaching or for a team to discuss ideas. Like, you know, yeah, go on.
I'm sorry, I'll give you my idea of what I started with, and then maybe DS some perspective on this. But the first thing I asked myself is, how can I discuss jiu-jitsu without discussing jiu-jitsu? How do we talk to humans about doing human things to other humans?
You're constraining yourself.
Right.
I should have known.
No, I was. So like, think about it. If I have to, you know, give a song and dance to a beginner outside of the rules of the game, what the hell do I know about what I'm doing? Right? So they have to know the rules of the game, what we're trying to accomplish, what the game is about, like why we do one thing or another. But we can get them started right away doing things that are going to build skill without the long explanations of why they exist. And that seems to work pretty well. It doesn't seem to be necessary at all, or it hasn't been for me in the last 8 years. But either way, if they want to know about it, of course we can talk about things. But either way, the language we use is just direct enough and specific enough to get them moving in ways that we know will create the skills that let jiu-jitsu happen.
Yeah, there's like no crazy move names. Imagine you took somebody off the street, first day of jiu-jitsu, and you just threw them with a bunch of information about these names of moves. They may not even be grappling when they go live. They may just try to remember what you said, you know. But if you use like simple cue, like pick his foot up or keep his hips down, it gets them playing the game right away, the actual game, not the remembering of the sequence of move or a name of a move. You know what I'm saying?
I have a question. So like for us, say I see, you know, Nicky Rod or Ethan on the back, I might yell out arm switch, but you guys don't, because that in our minds we say that as a technique. But what would you guys say in a scenario like that?
Use your other arm. But the thing is, like you were saying, and we were talking about this earlier in the trainings, like as long as that language is common amongst your guys, that's what's most important.
For sure.
You know, for us, we try to keep it simple as possible. One, it helps with cornering. You know, like you're not going through a dissertation in the corner. You're telling them, get them down, get to their hips, remove what's in front. You know, or in your case, arm switch, or
So what do you
control,
guys use? Like, what do you guys use? For example, like an arm switch, or say, we would say if he was in, we'll say we call it like a 3/4 Jujigatame or something like that, and I see an opportunity for an ankle senkaku. These are all like
nomenclature.
Nomenclature.
Yeah.
Right? The nomenclature. How do you guys communicate to each other as coach and athlete?
Condition and effect. So when we first start training him for something, we give him a set of conditions that we want him to perform, and we give language that's external to himself. He can see what condition. So an example would be something like, in this game, we're going to keep both of our legs in between our partner's legs for as long as you can. I'm just giving you a random
inside
one.
position.
Inside position. So then when he's at the tournament, you like, keep your feet inside, clear the feet, cross the leg, lift the heel, like basic shit.
No, for sure. I totally understand that part. I guess when we go further into different submission opportunities, how do you guys highlight maybe there's an opportunity for an ankle senkaku, or there's an opportunity for different
we probably would describe, instead of just the technique as a whole, the precursory conditions for like a technique, like let's say triangle, right? Like
if you want to switch from an armbar to a triangle,
exactly
right.
How do you?
He'll literally get your legs involved, or armbar to a triangle, or arm in, arm out. He'll say trap the head and arm, or something like that. The coaching is more the conditions of what is required for that.
Interesting.
As opposed to saying switch to armbar, switch to triangle. If he told me, I'll probably understand what that is. But beginner guys like, all right, trap the head, or heavy, keep the head on the ground, for example. Those are conditions needed for switching to triangle to armbar.
Anyone who walks in day one will understand, like, put his head on the ground. That's
absolutely,
pretty straightforward.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's just the language we like to use. But like you said, like if you're coaching Ethan and Ethan knows what you mean, it's effective.
We speak in Morse code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have now. I agree again with the skill acquisition part of CLA. Do you think that's the best way to relay information to an athlete at the point of time? So it's like where I might say ankle senkaku, he immediately knows that that's available, and that's a quick way to directly impart information to him.
But that was developed in the room, though. You know what I'm saying? That was that information there. You're not gonna tell him something that he's never seen before, right before he steps on the mat. You're only going to talk to him about stuff like you guys developed in the room. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. Because
I know what that means, or Nicky Rod knows what that means, whereas like they have their language and they know what they're going for.
It's that coach-athlete relationship again. It's like that's the art of coaching. And I haven't really delved too much into that. He'll probably, but that's what I feel. I'm confident he's not gonna tell me something right before I step on an important match and be like, he knows he'll either be quiet or tell me things that are things I understand that we developed in the room, and then I could easily implement, whatever that looks like. And it's different for each team, Like the 10 Planet guys, they understand all those things that those guys are saying because they developed it in their room, I guess. I don't know. But
talk about 10 Planet. Do you guys smoke weed?
I do not.
Do not?
No.
Bro, he's on submarines.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
The pressure. Below sea level, the pressure, you can't, Never mind.
All right.
Is this a segue into?
It actually wasn't, but thanks Puffco. They sent us a bunch of shit.
I was
gonna offer you guys.
Hey,
if you guys, Greg, do you smoke weed, or if you want to talk about it on camera, we could cut it out.
I try to avoid talking about my personal life on camera.
I hear you. We'll cut it out. No problem.
No, you don't need to cut it.
Oh,
you
so
can
do you
say
smoke
that
weed?
Greg doesn't talk about his personal life on camera.
Yeah, they'll
Greg doesn't talk about his personal life on camera. Can neither confirm nor deny.
Do you have a wrestling background? Did you start this before jiu-jitsu, before the gi even?
So both my brother and I both wrestled.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
all right.
So why I got into wrestling the same month I started jiu-jitsu, because it was something to do in school, right? It was like, it looked good on your college
Wrestling was?
Yeah, like it's extracurricular, right?
Yeah.
It looks good on your college resume, I was raised in that culture. Make sure you get into,
Damn
about
straight.
it. Yeah, you know about it. Like, get into that good college, make your resume look good. So that's why I originally wanted to go into wrestling, and then I started liking it because it was just like jiu-jitsu and something I did after school. But I wrestled all through middle school and throughout high school, and then my brother did the same. He's far more decorated than I am in terms of accomplishments wrestling. He's state champion in Virginia, and then
Shit.
I just
Nice.
took I think the best I did was 4th. But however, I would say I'm glad I did because, and you probably attest to this, is the amount of competition you get in a season, it makes you good at competing. Because imagine doing 2 to 3 events a week for 4 months. You
Become second nature.
it's not so much the grappling part, but knowing how to compete.
The feeling of competition.
Yeah, you get used. You start building your rituals. You start building your if you're about the rituals, right? You start, doing what you need to do to get ready for a day.
Do you guys have rituals that you guys like before competition, like semen retention, or I like to listen
Or
to a
semen
certain
release,
song?
perhaps.
Yeah, both of you guys.
I used to be like that, especially when I was wrestling. I was like very superstitious.
So what would you do?
So I was like the anxious type. So you're always looking for control. I'll wear the same underwear, wear the same shoes.
Dude, it's like AJ Ferrari. You've been watching that dude, AJ Ferrari. Yeah, he's like, I've been using bamboo toilet paper and stuff, but like
He
dude
loses.
yeah,
But he didn't win. Nationals.
no.
Even with all of that.
Dude, I like that guy, man. I like him.
He's funny.
But yeah, I used to be superstitious before COVID in jiu-jitsu and wrestling. Then now I don't care. Like I used to I game a lot, and I'm like, all right, we could come like video games and stuff like that. Like I play. No.
I meant
I play that too. I play board games too.
Well,
I play Valorant, Marvel Rivals. I just picked up.
Our guy Nicky Rod is hooked on it.
Just got a boner in his house.
Dude, I used to play Apex, Fortnite when I was younger, like COD.
Best friend, basically.
Oh, you gotta link up with.
Sure you're not from B Team, brother?
No, but like ever since I was 5, I played Halo on the computer, and ever since then I've been gaming. But when I started competing, I'm like, damn, maybe this gaming stuff is not optimal, and I'm like, now I really don't care.
Yeah, now he's back on the game.
Like
right?
before West Coast Trials,
Relapsed.
Dude, before the fight, I was up till like midnight playing Valorant, just trying to grind, and then I'm not kidding.
It's Nicky Rod's language. Bro.
Then I went to Vegas for the West Coast Trials, and I was gambling before my matches.
Hell yeah! What do you play?
Yo,
that was my first time. I lost like $400.
You gotta play with us.
Yeah.
Like
you gotta stop gambling and start advantage playing.
okay.
That's what we do.
Based to gambling.
he puts the money down and.
Well, I've been trying to play some poker, but
Poker.
I'm losing all my fake money. So
I think we gotta switch
No.
from craps to baccarat.
Is that what we do?
I've been studying. Yeah.
Same.
well, I'm just getting into it. But I played roulette. I was like, yo, I have no control. Let me play blackjack. Then I lost $300.
See-
and that was before day 2. Then I was like so pissed. Then I warmed up with my brother. Then we competed.
Yeah,
But
you
before,
gotta go craps because that's what you control the dice.
yeah. I need a good group.
Yo, link up. Next
Next time we're all in Vegas.
Yeah.
We gotta get on the same UFC Fight Pass card.
Oh,
That's
there
what,
you go.
That's when we play.
Yo, we're ready, bro.
Yeah.
But I used to care about that stuff then. Just recently, I'm like, so you're telling me if I lose $300 from gambling, this is gonna affect me, like competing at my best? Now I really just don't.
It's
care.
actually extra cardio because your heart rate is elevated while you're
pre warm up. So yeah.
Funny side story. One of the first times we played craps together, we've been playing for we've been advantage playing for a bit now. But one of our first escapades, we go and I see Nicky Rod fucking around with his watch, right? And he's looking at his heart monitor. So at first, like it's like 60, maybe 70. We just walked in.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit elevated for an athlete, but nothing crazy. And we get to the table, and he has the dice, and I look at it. I see him look at his watch, and he puts his watch down, and I look over 155.
Yeah, there you go, bro.
He's in zone 2, man.
He's in zone 2, yeah. You don't
Straight
gotta
face 155. I'm like, oh god, oh god.
That's funny, man. Yeah, he's more Dennis Rodman type, man. Just doesn't give a fuck.
Hell
But,
yeah. Do you have rituals?
I'm a little more structured. It used to be like he said, like some shit that just over time you start to see that you become real like fragile to it. Does that make sense? Like if you didn't get that,
Not to Nicky Rod.
well,
Yep.
if you can make it work, it works, right? But then but the thing is like the ritual is like good sleep that night, good breakfast, cup of coffee in the morning, move around in the morning, especially if we're fighting like towards the end of the day. Just feel good. It's like really about just feeling good. I'm not trying to have any friction in anything I'm doing. And I remember you talking about like the decision thing. That there's some truth to that. Like you just don't want to put any effort in, because the hardest thing you're gonna do that day is go compete, and you want to just be feeling good.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Like, when I actually learned it from Nicky Rod, like before I compete, it's like I don't want to make any decision. I don't want to be driving. I don't want to have to decide what I'm gonna eat. Like everything is pre-planned before. There's someone gonna drive me. I just put on my headphones and I zone out, and then I'm basically like a horse just following the leader.
Yeah.
You know,
He doesn't even go to the bathroom.
yeah. I just piss where I am because I don't want to find the
Piss
bathroom.
right there, yo. Put him in a triangle, start pissing. Right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
No decisions.
But nah, like when I was younger, like it was kind of cool. When I look back at my early years of like wrestling and competing. When I was a kid, I was like I had to do everything to a T, and at the time it served you, right? If it made you feel good, yeah. But you started, as you grow older or as a competitor, you start to realize were those things really important, you know? I was watching one thing on Flow Wrestling. It was like talking about, Austin DeSanto, the guy. He's talking about the red shirt. He had always wore this red shirt, and one of his teammates pulled him aside and was like, hey, yo, the red shirt is not going to make you win matches. It's this hard work. And then, you start discovering that I started discovering that as I, started competing more, is like, what's really important here. And it kind of allows you to just enter competition with a peaceful mindset.
At the beginning of sophomore year in high school, I got 2 pairs of wrestling shoes, one for practice, one for matches, and I had like a 15 match win streak at the beginning of the season, and I lost my first match that season and I threw those competition shoes out the same night.
It was the shoes.
Luck ran out.
Oh, luck ran out.
These
Yeah,
ain't
they
counting anymore.
must be gone. Yeah.
You guys have a temper at all?
I have a little more of a temper than Gavin's chill. Gavin
seems more chill.
Yeah.
Look at him. Look at him.
Yeah, dude's just chilling, man. Ever since I've been always kind of the more intense, even when we were kids. Maybe it's like older brother thing. I don't know. But I was like,
Is it Master Uguay? Is the Kung Fu Panda?
Yes.
Master Uguay, yeah.
that's like it.
good vibes.
Yeah.
I can't unsee it.
Yeah.
It's good. The wushu finger.
But yeah, you guys ever fight each other? Like get into
Nah, we never really.
arguments, like brother arguments?
I mean, it's just typical sibling stuff, but we never had like crazy
Physical?
real beef. Maybe, but it like the thing was like if we ever argue, we made the realization right away that we're about to go to the same place to eat on the same table. It's not really worth that, But no, for sure. Like you see our rounds. That's the most competitive round. We had a couple like clips on the standard page, like just us scrambling, and you may think that, oh, dude. One story is like when Greg first met Gavin. He's like, it was before before my match with Gabe Souza on Toro Cup, and Gavin wasn't with training with us yet. So I said, yo, let's warm up. And then Greg saw us warm up. We were about to put holes in walls. It was like that. It's like, but it's never like, there's not
Never anger behind it.
There's no animosity. It's like, you seen those Rotolos? Like when they compete in the garage, like, you're going to the same house, bro. There's no animosity. But it's good. Yeah. But it's a cheat code though, because you don't have that filter. Like when you train with somebody that's not as like super close to you, there's always that
piss them off or something.
Exactly. But now there's less of a filter when you're brothers.
I think we kind of have the same culture with like the top guys, it's like you can scrap hard as fuck, rough as fuck, but there's no actual anger behind it. But if you go with someone like maybe a newer guy or an outsider, they might think that you're mad at them.
Yeah.
And it's like they're like, what the fuck, bro? Or it might escalate. But it's like in reality, it's just a scrap.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, like when we're training at Standard, I only like to train with the guys I know that I could do that with. And very rare do I go with a visitor, especially if I don't know them, because one, the training intensity may not be what we need, and two is like safety issue, right? Like I don't know what this guy's gonna do. Like when I went into VT, and the guy behind the desk was like, no flying, anything, no jumping. That's exactly what we say at our gym, because that's the reason why I don't like training with visitors, because I don't want. How stupid would that be to do a round and get injured,
dude? Yeah.
For like this visitor, like, you know what I'm saying? So I try to stay with the guys I know I could like have high intense rounds. But
sick.
Yeah. But the thing is also too is like in our gym, and it's probably from, you know, the mat culture, is like make it to tomorrow. Make sure you could train tomorrow.
Awesome.
You could go as hard as you want, but make sure that's a constraint in itself, that you both parties involved can make it training tomorrow, and that just keeps you going.
It's a great culture.
Yeah.
Great culture. It's funny that you're the more intense guy. Greg, you have to be the most intense coffee orderer
Give me that fucking money.
No.
I've ever
I was
heard.
kidding. It's all right.
So just to give a little story about yesterday. So if you don't mind me talking about it,
No,
I got
hilarious.
I got stories
As
too,
long as
man.
it's like jiu-jitsu oriented, we can talk whatever you want, so we're good.
Well, we were talking about the CLA. So
Yeah, no,
before
this is
the CLA
jiu-jitsu
meeting-
oriented because I was in front of you guys when I did it. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk
right?
about Greg, because I got stories too.
Bro, it's hilarious. So, you know, again, the only interaction that we really had was just Instagram. You know, just, hey, I'd love to come on the podcast. We're talking a little bit back and forth, but we never actually discussed ideas or topics at all. So after the session, me and my striking coach, Elton Wells, you know, he really wanted to meet with you because, you know, he listened to all your shit, read the books like of Rob Gray and dove deep into CLA, right? So we're going to Radio. It's a local coffee shop, and we're in line. Again, don't really know Greg. I don't know how he acts or anything, right?
You know now.
I know now.
Yeah.
I know now, and it's honestly hilarious. So he goes up and she's like, oh, hi, what would you like to order? And he goes, I'd like an iced tall black, please. No. He's like, I'll have an iced tall black. And she's like, you want like black coffee, black tea? And he's like, an iced tall black is like with espresso. And then she's like, oh, you mean like an iced Americano? And he's like, no. And just dead face, he's like, no. An iced Americano is ice, espresso, then water. An iced tall black is ice, water, then espresso. It changes the flavor profile. And I was like, oh God. Oh God.
He's like, Damien, like, what the hell is this guy? What have I gotten into, bro?
I'm with a monster here.
No, like it's a fucking coffee shop. They're trying to be all bougie. You know what a tall black is? Like, what am I ordering?
How dare they?
How did it? Then call yourself something else.
That's why I gotta be around him, because it keep him, dude. Yeah, dude. I gotta make sure he's not, just getting out of line. But like, I remember one time we're going to Vegas for trials.
Okay.
And we had to fly. It's like at 3, like a 5 a.m. flight. So we're in the airport at 3 a.m. Right? We're going through the TSA, and you know how like through the X-ray you got to move all your shit down to the end. The dude was trying to put his shit on right next to the right after he got out the X-ray.
Stupid decision.
And,
selfish.
Well, yeah. So
Truly,
dude,
man.
this dude pushes the dude to the end, and I'm already through, and I'm watching this whole thing happen. I'm like, bro, if Greg gets detained here, I'm going to Vegas and we're gonna go compete.
Go win trials,
I
bro.
gotta go win trials. And I'm like, I do nothing. I'm like, let's see how this plays out. And Greg gets through. I was like, Greg. When he wrote, I was like, Greg, did you really have to do that, dude? We're trying to do this thing that's really important, and I kind of need you there. And it's like, but I try to hang around him and keep him chilled out,
level-headed.
Yeah. So if I was there, I'd be like, yo, Greg, they don't know what a tall, whatever you said, tall black.
No
It's like, they don't know what that is. You just gotta explain them right away, man. You
Have
can't
you
assume.
tasted them side by side to?
I did actually. So I I have a
He
espresso
ecologically
machine at
tasted
home.
them.
So I was learning how to weigh them out and do it, and I was like, is it really different?
Oh, you're.
A connoisseur.
Bro.
Yeah.
I know?
He's on that level
No,
of
wait.
coffeeness.
You fuck with the espresso machine, right?
Oh, I got
Dude.
one too.
Dude, you gotta talk to this guy. He's on the latte art, like tray art, bro. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, every morning, man, he pours it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful shit.
yeah, I'm obsessed with that shit.
Like he's starting. That's what the true aspiration is. Step away from grappling, become baristas. Yeah, there you go.
That's the next thing.
No, but
It's
man,
such a
don't
good
you ever,
markup.
don't you ever think about it? Like people don't check people enough. People gonna act foolish. Like,
bro, Greg,
No, check this out.
Greg.
now check this right. We all got to get through the airport. If you're gonna be the asshole that has to stand behind you and you can go all the way to the end, like no one says anything, we all got to suffer. So I was like, hey bro, do you mind moving your stuff down so we can all get our stuff? He ignores me, and I was like, yo, just move it down a little bit.
He
You
has
know?
headphones on.
I was talking to him and he was ignoring me like I didn't exist. And I was like, hey bro, you're blocking the whole thing. Just move your stuff. And he ignored me, so I grabbed his shit and boom, slung it all the way down. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, man. And then he tried to like say something. I held him in position while I got my stuff on. I was like, how's that shit feel? You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like,
Wow, in an airport.
Bro,
Okay.
TSA agents just
You
start
ever
peeking over like, damn, bro.
you ever give him like a hug? Like, I could,
no.
it
See,
could
I
be
hug
that
him all
simple.
the time. I gotta be like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. But I just,
No, you just gotta
just
get
stay around him, make sure he's not getting arrested or anything
When
like that.
when some dude tried to fight him at Whole Foods, ask me the first person who stepped in
Well, all
front
right,
of
tell
him
us the story. Tell us the story.
Okay, Whole Foods. I love Whole Foods, by the way. Trying to get that sponsor.
Yeah, hell
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, Whole Foods, bro.
Oh, man.
But dude, I was like, it's one of those dudes that hang out in the Whole Foods like cafeteria all day. You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah. So like those guys, right? And I'm like, they're the basket column where you put your baskets. It was right next to it, is like near him. So I put my basket there and it made a sound, and he got spooked. And he started yelling at me. And I'm like, all right, this guy is crazy. I'm just going to go about my day, go grocery shop. And then as I'm walking away, going to the aisles and shit, I just hear Greg start chirping. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, shit, man. And I let him and then I guess it settled down. And then by the time I got to the cafeteria, I was eating my stuff. This dude's just mean mugging Greg, and then Greg's mean mugging him back. And it's like, it's like, Greg, man, is it really? Do we really need to do this, bro? But he did. I'll say that dude tried to step up to me, and the homie Greg was like,
Well, it's good that he has
yeah.
your back, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Listen,
he always has my back. He always has my back. I know whatever form that looks like. You know what? Like, if you got to fight somebody, I'm grateful for him to be there, man. Regardless.
Look, I come from a different environment. Like, if we didn't act, and we don't talk about this shit, but if I didn't act like that, man, I don't know, whatever. I know it's not healthy as an adult, and it's probably a horrible thing to do, but like, nah, you're not fucking my people, bro. I'm sorry.
What part of Maryland were you raised?
Detroit, Maryland.
Chirac.
No,
My bad.
Chirac.
the city I come from is called Germantown. Germantown.
Germantown.
Maryland.
That
Yeah,
sounds like, yeah.
yeah.
Do you know about stoicism?
Man, I know. We're supposed to be chill, blah 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 blah. And you know what I mean?
He tried, bro. He tried.
I try. I'm getting better.
Try to get him on a meditation.
Stoicism.
Because is it anger or is it muscle memory that's making you react this way?
I would say it's absolute anger, bro.
Yeah.
It's just absolute anger.
Really?
I have to shove it down so far that sometimes it just.
So many constraints,
really?
you gotta let it out somewhere.
I know, man.
I used
I think I heard Mike Tyson talk about anger. He said like verbatim was like, if another man makes you angry, it's gay. That's what he said. I'll try to send you the clip, but I thought that was funny. I haven't been mad since.
Yo, hey, if y'all see any stoic shit on Instagram, yo, just DM him. Get him that.
Don't say that, because motherfucker DM me for more shit. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, coach, here's a stoic saying. You know, it's like,
Greg, choose peace. Choose peace, Greg.
it's
All black.
it's a lot easier going through life if you don't give it power, if it doesn't bother you.
I just don't care
It's no
about
big
that.
deal.
Nah, freak out over everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Hey, as long as he cares for his guys. He takes care of us. So
That's cool.
I think
the
yeah.
flavor profile of your talk.
Yeah.
hey, see, like
Lots of cares.
the way you do one thing is the way you do all things. I'm an intense, passionate dude, right? I get fully invested and fully engaged. You know, whether that be in the health of my students or people trying to fuck with my people, it's all the same.
Gotta be yourself at the end of the day, for
Yeah.
sure.
Genuine. He's never switched. That's one thing. That's one thing I really when I first met him as a coach, it was like one of the things I was like, this dude's genuine dude. He just cares about getting his guys good. So whatever that looked like, you know, I'm for it.
Why do you paint your nails?
Oh, that's
Really?
yeah.
Check it.
Silence and
I don't want to know.
No, you do want to know. See, like, so me.
one of the pink, two on the stink, right?
No, this. I'll tell you that. Here's the deal.
crazy.
Is that not it?
That's crazy. That actually, damn.
I was gonna go all pink, but I needed to make it kind of flashy so
Couldn't
I could catch
fit.
Nicky Rod's attention. So like,
He's trying to catch your eye.
when
Did
we,
I say something about it first time we met?
it was your eye contact, bro?
No, about your fingers.
It's what your body said. You know what I'm saying? So I knew when we would meet, you would notice him first thing. What's the first thing you said to me?
I was like, does. Are you constrained to these colors?
Yeah, no.
What did he say? What did he say?
I don't know.
Do you remember?
He said, "So what's the deal with the nails?" And I was like, "Man, I painted them."
Is that the first thing I said to you?
When I sat down next to you, we started chatting, right? So when our first conversation we had that wasn't about training, you asked me about nails right away. Okay. And I asked Noah because I was like, I'm gonna get my nails done. I'm gonna paint them specifically because I know Nicky Rod's gonna say something about it. And he's like, how do you know he's gonna say something about it? I was like, it was the way he looked at me last time we had a conversation. I was like, he's
It's curious.
He's like,
you know.
maybe
I don't
Greg could
know
do
why.
that.
It makes me slightly uncomfortable. It's not you. I don't know. I think
It's a
yeah.
slight. Yeah. Let's bleep that. Let's bleep that word.
It could be.
that, please.
Yeah.
But
When
no,
I see
I
a-
legitimately painted in pink because like I knew it would affect you.
well, I appreciate it, but definitely when I see any man with nails, with painted nails, I don't know what it is.
Questions
Brother,
raised.
you-
Yeah,
you-
questions raised.
Check this out. You painted your skin. You can't take that off.
Yeah, for sure, but it's
I
not
can take
pink.
mine off.
Yeah,
Look at what color your shorts.
I'm getting paid to wear these.
Yeah. But they're pink. No, but here's the thing. I can take mine off. You can take yours
I know.
off.
I know.
Who
You're right.
goes first?
Take off your shorts.
Who goes first?
Prove it.
Take it off your.
Maybe because I probably just associate nail painting, manicures, pedicures with women. So
Yeah.
and then I see like a woman thing on a not woman. I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
But you're cool.
I like you too, bro. No, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Our opinions we have of others says more about ourselves than it does the other person. So.
Yo, some stoicism
Probably- I
shit
don't know
right
what that
there,
means.
bro.
I'm too stupid to understand
You know, they say this, like, kind of what bothers you tells you something. You're getting an emotional response from me, nails, whatever it might be.
Like the anger.
They say that.
But did I display an emotional response?
I'm very good at reading intentions, right?
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a skill I have. I could just tell. I could tell you were kind of like. I'm not.
I mean,
gonna
he was
say,
just-
I'm not gonna say
It just throws off.
I'm not gonna say into it, but
Yeah. It's like somebody trying to shove, like
Dick in your mouth.
that'd be tremendous.
I said a dick in your mouth. Just so the audience hears. But continue, carry on. Anytime you want the mic, just grab it from me.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on a roll, bro.
Me?
Let's keep talking about
Fuck
this
yeah.
connection we have. Keep going.
Yes. Make eye
Yeah,
contact.
I mean, I don't know. It's
He's
like
uncomfortable.
yeah, it's just uncomfortable. It's like driving with a square tire or something.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's cool. Like you'll still get there.
But it's a little bumpy of a ride.
Nothing.
It'll hurt your ass by
Nothing
when you get
about you makes me uncomfortable.
What'd you say?
Nothing about him makes me uncomfortable.
Nothing about you makes me uncomfortable, but the nails
Make me oddly
because-
comfortable.
No, because the paint isn't you. It's just a thing that's on you.
That's right.
Right.
And you like to look at the things on me?
I like to observe my surroundings, make sure everyone I care about is safe.
This makes you feel unsafe.
So what does this say? Does it say danger? Do I seem like a dangerous man or maybe a man with different
Only to
intentions?
TSA agents.
And baristas.
And pretty much anyway.
Yeah. Dangerous? No. But maybe unpredictable.
I like that. Thank you for the
Could be
compliment.
that.
What'd you say?
Maybe slightly more unpredictable than others.
Oh, men with painted nails are less predictable than men with.
But yeah, you just wouldn't expect this.
That's true. It's a
man
curveball.
It's a curveball.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh,
like
yeah.
who's Hokage? He Fabricio.
He does it. Yeah.
He does
Fabricio,
it, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Like, same reaction.
But for real though, so little Alex, my first like kid student, she was doing like
This is your wife?
My wife,
your
yeah.
wife.
She
Okay,
was
okay.
so Alex when we were her work before, right? She works in a hospital now. She's a surgical tech, but like before she was a nail tech. So yeah, right there. So, like,
Yeah, she's-
Wait. So this is why you always paint your nails? Okay.
Wait. What's why?
Yeah. Why?
What's the why?
Nah. Yeah.
Besides coming here?
I don't know. I can be sentimental. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she used to paint my nails, so it just reminds me of her. So I paint
But
my
why'd
nails,
you
I just
let
kept
that
it.
happen? Did
To practice. She did it to practice.
to practice.
She was practicing painting nails.
She was a nail tech. She
And
needed to
I let
practice
her-
painting nails.
I
So
thought he was a customer. Okay, this makes sense. This makes
I'm
sense.
a customer now, but like,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Back then, it was just like, I was like, oh, you can do it. And then I was like, oh, I like this. So I just kept letting her do it over and over and over again. She would, let me try this color, Coach Greg, blah, blah. And she would do like the standard symbol on my fingernail. She's a really good artist.
is that the S? Is that the S thing?
And she did a
Okay.
thing we did together. Like, I would come over, we'd play like Mario Brothers, and she'd paint my nails. So
Yeah,
it was
that's
like,
nice.
little thing.
Would you ever paint your nails, Nicky Rod?
I'd let my daughter do it or something. If I
Okay.
had a daughter.
Oh, that makes sense. Look at that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I can't have daughters.
That's not gay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I read the
Daughters
book.
make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I read the book.
Smoke all.
Oh, you gotta tell them about the book.
Oh, yeah.
Know how to get just boys?
Only boys.
1 for 1.
You
One
just
for one.
think about little boys when you.
No, is that
No.
No. What's
sir.
the secret?
Yo, Ethan's
there's
excerpts, bro. Ethan's excerpts go
Oh,
crazy,
we've said
bro.
way worse on this. I
Yeah.
don't fucking.
So
Welcome to the Simple Man Podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's degrading now.
It's terrible.
So I mean, if you want a boy, it starts off with some kind of constraint-based game.
For real?
Oh, no, I mean, there's a few things you have to do. Not bust enough for a few days so you can retain a little bit. Track the ovulation. Make sure she's peak ovulation. Make her come. Probably gonna be super hard for some guys. Not you though. I think you got it.
Yeah.
Probably
Motion
gotta
of the
figure it
ocean,
out.
bro. Motion of the
Not
ocean.
the size doesn't matter.
Yep. Make her come. Send it in doggy style. That's usually
Yeet it.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. Yeet it up there, doggy.
one. It's a combination of things. And then
Doggy style. Never heard of this. This is in the book? Huh?
it's in the book. Yeah.
You wrote the book?
Well, he said.
Yo, you're 1 of 1 though. You're 100% accurate.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
check
yeah.
it out. I only came in there once, and then like a few weeks passed. We figure out she's pregnant, so I knew it was that exact time.
Mm-hmm.
So all the
All the middle
predictions lined up, and you're like,
ground. Send it, bro.
Yeah.
This is the day.
Yeah. I also Tim Kennedy. Like I talked to a few guys. Like our business partner Seth gave me some advice. Tim Kennedy told me he did a variation of that, but he was like, yeah, I went to
war.
I went to war for like
Yeah.
2 months. Did some stuff, then met my wife and knocked it out. I did a version of that. I did like a 3-on-1 match in Pittsburgh, beat everybody up, and then
oh yeah. You think it's the T? You think it's like the environment of like just
War.
what you were doing, and it just rose your T levels, and
it could be. I didn't come for a few days because I was competing.
You believe in that? You do that? You do that before competition? Donut?
I do. I just like to get every advantage I possibly can.
Okay.
If this might keep me slightly more focused, I'll take it.
I got you. I got you.
Well,
morning of, baby. Don't wash my hands.
That's a real thing, though. Like, aren't more men
Grips.
or more male babies born during times and after times of war? Like, that's an actual.
Is that a
thing.
Is there a
thing?
statistic on that? That'll be
I could
interesting.
have just made that up.
Use your magic phone, bro, right now.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's a
Yeah.
real
Use
thing.
your computer device.
Yeah.
So that's it, bro.
What about the icing the
Interesting.
nuts thing? You heard about that? Does that actually work?
That's just to make
I
you
have no
come.
idea.
Is that the thing?
I don't know what that is.
What, you put ice on your nuts? This is-
That's what I
Like
heard.
you put
that
Oh, you
icy
say
hot?
because if you run hot, it like kills
heat.
with-
That's what they're saying. Like if you stay in saunas too long, it's hard
Cooks your
to
shit.
it's hard to conceive.
I think it's
What?
really.
Yeah.
I think it's really about the woman. If she's not in like peak ovulation, she'd be slightly more acidic. Kill your boys.
Yeah.
If she's like perfect base peak ovulation, the boys swim faster. So she
You
be
squirt-
All right, the
Squirt
boys
fun.
get to there faster.
faster.
So,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if
you're setting the environment.
So if the environment is friendly, is good is a good pH.
Well, you
your boys
squirt
don't
some
get it
lemon on
fast.
that before you go in there.
That would kill the boys.
And that's- oh, that would kill them.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so
you want
battery acid.
you want a basic.
It was
You want
base.
basic solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
If you lick it and it burns your tongue, you gotta switch it up.
So that's the gauge.
If you pee and it burns.
if it's like a bad.
Yeah.
Real
The
quick.
next day.
So yes, the phenomenon known as the returning soldier effect suggests there is an increase in the number of boys born during and immediately after major wars. This effect is statistically noticeable in the aftermath of both world wars, according to BBC. I don't know how.
I wonder if that's ecological, like
I don't know if
in
it's
constraints.
in
Constraints,
terms
right?
of like they know because the environment requires
Boys.
potentially more men,
Right?
and it just the numbers just
And they need more brain size, so more men, right?
Oh, wow. Wow. Unbelievable.
And they're probably not coming while they're at war, so they're all built up.
Well, as far as we know.
You're telling me you're going off fighting wars and you're not going back and jerking off? Oh, that's
I'm jerking off. I'm going to war so I can jerk off.
Yep.
Fucking
Interesting.
my bayonet.
I might have to simulate war, bro.
So no semen retention for you before competition.
Nah.
Bro, you do it right after trials or something, or ADCC.
Oh,
Before
like
you get your boy.
try for a
No,
boy.
no, get the boy right after.
After
Go.
ADCC.
You want kids?
Yeah.
How many kids you want?
Talking to my wife, probably two, maybe three.
You want boys or girls or mix?
Right now, I'm not picky,
You don't
but
have a
this guy's.
preference.
You can pick.
Well, I heard that. Well, now with the Nicky
it's
Rod
all-
method, I may.
I mean, there's also abortion, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, too far.
That's another clip right there.
Yeah.
All right, Jesus Christ.
I didn't say anything. I don't know.
Interesting.
Do you guys have any other questions? Any other topics?
Nah, I should stop talking.
Do you have any other questions?
Oh, I have a knife. Sorry, I have a knife to give Damien from. This is completely off topic.
Sick.
Talk about everything else. All right, Slow Mo Knife Co. Thank you. You made some sick knives, and Damien, this is for you for your black belt.
Sick, yeah.
Ready?
Whoa.
Congratulations on your black belt, Slow Mo Knife Co. They gave me a sick cleaver as well.
Oh,
Makes
sick.
great shit. So there you
Slow-Mo
go.
Knife Co. Where are they based out of?
I'm not sure. It's just one guy who just forges knives. It's,
That's kind of sick.
Yeah,
That's kinda
he's
sick.
sick. He's super cool.
Ethan,
Yeah.
about what we talked about earlier.
What?
Did you know all the Jews were getting kicked out of their countries for compound interest?
Oh, in the gym. Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, this is a curveball of a fucking. Say that again. What?
Did you know the Jews were getting kicked out of other countries for starting compound interest?
I mean, to me, it sounds like a great idea. Don't kick me out of here
What?
for fucking. I don't know if that's true. I don't. We
Not
just heard this
compound
today.
The Instagram reel I came across said compound interest.
Oh,
that makes
Instagram.
no
reel.
sense.
Okay,
How about
it's-
compounding interest?
Good.
Is that the same thing? Compound versus compounding?
I guess.
Compounding interest. Okay, look. Let's say you, Nicky Rod, put your money in the bank and it has interest in some way. Wouldn't it be fair for you to you gain your interest and then you get interest on that new number instead of just everyone? If I have $5 in the bank or 100,000, shouldn't the person?
Let's hear.
All right.
Yes, throughout history, Jews have been expelled from countries, and while various factors have contributed, concerns about interest rates, USURY, and economic activity played a significant role in some expulsions. Specifically in the medieval period, some rulers blamed Jews, moneylenders, for issues related to debts and interest.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to capitalize on this somehow. I don't know if there's any high ups out there. Mazel tov, baby. Hit me up.
Greg, real quick, last question. Do you have any opinion on the comments of Bryce Mitchell?
Bryce Mitchell.
Who?
Oh,
Just curious.
Bryce Mitchell.
Who?
The UFC fighter?
What do you say?
He said something about. What did he say? He said something about Hitler being a good dude or something
Might
like
have
that.
been a good guy. Hitler was actually probably just trying to get rid of the
trainees.
The trans. I don't know.
Oh
What do you-
yeah,
what do
he
you have
said
to
they're
say
burning
about
the books
that?
and shit like that.
Burning the books.
Yeah.
What do you have to say?
I did hear that they were transgender books.
What do you have? You have an opinion on this?
Dude,
Greg don't.
look.
Greg don't brain rot himself. He don't know.
Yeah, no, it's
But-
all ridiculous, and most people are dumb as fuck. So just plug your ears, move on, and worry about your own shit. Stupid people, the profoundly ignorant, are ruining the world one step at a time. So
Do you believe
Fuck.
that the Earth is flat?
Ecologically, yes.
no,
5 out of 10 rage beat.
so silly.
No comment.
No, it's not been fucking round, bro. Come
it's
on,
round,
man.
bro.
Come on, man.
It's
All
round.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's-
Okay.
Come on,
I'm
bro.
just
Don't-
curious. I'm trying to see.
But do I seem like a flat earth type dude?
Yeah, how dare you insinuate this?
I don't know.
Yeah, give him a tall black. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, man.
Gotcha. It's George Black.
Look,
Thank God I have a mic for this.
the best thing that came out of this whole trip here was the relationship between Nicky Rod and I. Just want to let everyone know.
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
Fuck yeah. Well,
All right, wait.
what's up? What's up?
You said something about him being black, right?
Yeah, do you want me to?
All right, so I thought of this while I was eating dinner in Florida, and it was so funny. I hope it's as
I'm
funny
so
to you guys
excited for
as
this. I'm fucking ready.
I'm ready.
Let's go.
I'm gonna fuck this up.
No, you're not.
Anyway, we're at a nice restaurant eating dinner, right? This older lady with like Alzheimer's, really old, like
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's,
Alzheimer's.
With old lady, old timer,
She's
Alzheimer's.
mentally not all there, right?
Yeah.
And her server comes up and asks her what she wants, and she looks at him and she's like, "What the fuck?" And all I could think about is her being like, when they get free.
No way.
I just held it in. I was dying laughing. It's so fucking funny.
It is funny.
But
It is
anyway,
funny.
I'm done.
On that note,
That's what for sure what she was thinking. Yes.
real quick before we end it, do you guys have anything you guys want to shout out? Obviously, you have your gym, but you guys are releasing an instructional soon, right? You guys want to call, or is that information that's not publicly available yet?
No, man, we've actually been messing around quite a bit trying to change the way instructionals are. We've really had a bunch of iterations on how we're going to do it. We don't really like anything we're doing because the whole thing is nothing's going to stay exactly as we put it out. You're always going to have to change things. So what we're trying to do is give people what they ask for. If they want a series of games, we're going to do it. But we're going to caveat it with, if you start with this, you got to end with something else. So we just finished a little short one that we're going to put out and just see if people like it. And what we're trying to do is get people engaged. If you like it, say something. What do you like about it? If you don't, say what you don't like about it. And we're going to try to adapt what we do in the future to the needs of the people watching, because that's really what an instructional should be for, right? If it is to create an effect, what is it? How do you want it to be? What do you need it to be?
And where can they find that?
Well, we'll be starting to put out we do everything off IG. So at GD Souders, things will be going on. At Standard Jiu-Jitsu, our YouTube channel, Standard Jiu-Jitsu. The brothers share stuff. We all share each other's stuff.
Yeah. So what's your guys' Instagram? So the guys can follow you if they don't already.
Yeah, simple Instagram, DeAndre_Corbe. Follow me on there. Trying to get on my content grind a little bit. I started to realize how important that was in terms of
Super important.
Yeah,
you
dude.
can actually not be good at anything, just have a following.
Dude, I saw that. I was really like, holy shit.
Like that weasel guy.
What was that weasel guy?
The jiu-jitsu weasel? Who's this?
He's a piece from he's like,
What do you live under a rock?
who's he?
I don't know who he is. He just pops up on my feet a bunch. He's like 47,000,
Yeah.
and I think he's like a blue belt or something like
But
that.
imagine you have skill around that and then skill
Bro,
this.
if you're good, if you're really good and you have a following, you're gonna make money.
Yeah, I'm trying to build that, and I got some guys helping me with the content and stuff. But DeAndre_Corbe, and then
Oh, mine is Gavin Sanity _ reference to Lynn Sanity.
Awesome. And at the end of each podcast, we like to have the followers that listen to the end leave some type of emoji. So what emoji would you want them to leave?
Painted nails.
Me?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, what would you choose?
Oh, for what do you mean? For
So
what reason?
in the YouTube comments, the guys that watch to the end, they leave the emoji that we pick out to show that they watched to the end. So what emoji do you want them to leave?
The eggplant.
Eggplant. That's a good one. Okay. Eggplant. Any others?
give me the fist bump, bro. Give me the fist
Eggplant,
bump.
fist bump.
Nah, do that freaky one with the eyes closed and the tongue out. That one's good.
All right.
The freaky
all right,
out
that one. Awesome, guys. If you guys watch to the end, please leave eggplant, fist bump, and the freaky one with the eyes closed, tongue out emoji. Thanks for watching the Simple Man Podcast. You guys have clearly been simplified.